Yeah.
So, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs. Today is August 9th, 2023. It's approximately 7 p.m. In the evening, and I call this meeting to order in two fashions. One as a live meeting and two as a Zoom virtual meeting, so everybody can participate in vivo or virtual. Madam Clerk, would you please read into the record the statement of compliance?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, BL 1975, Chapter 231, setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of the public meeting through a legal notice published in the record, posted on the borough website and on the bulletin board.
Okay, thank you. Can I roll call, please?
Mayor Kranjak,
Here.
Member Valari,
Here.
Member Petrubis,
Here.
Member Kim,
Here.
Member President Luciano, Member Simon,
Here.
Member Di Gregorio,
Here.
Administrator Stern. Here. Attorney Marinello.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Would everyone please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
America.
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just wanted to mention a couple of things before we begin the meeting. There's a bill pending in the Senate under the moniker of Preserve the Cliffs. And what's ironic about it is it's only preserving the cliffs from Jersey City to Fort Lee, which have already been destroyed visually and in a lot of other ways. So the bill does nothing about the area from north of Fort Lee, which is Englewood Cliffs, Tenafly, and Alpine, because the geniuses in Trenton decided to kind of leave us vulnerable to not preserving our cliffs. So the other crazy thing about this pending bill is that there's a commission being created. We'll call it the Preserve the Cliffs Commission. And it's, of course, comprised of one representative from each of the towns from Fort Lee south to Jersey City. So this is your legislature at work, okay? They're kind of just pushing the vegetables around the plate because that's already done. It's a foregone conclusion. So what that tells me is that the intention is 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, they will destroy our cliffs and then they will create a commission to preserve our cliffs. So if you're listening to this, be vocal. And by the way, your representatives, Gordon Johnson, Alan Park, Hyder from Tenafly, they're all okay with this. So they're also your representatives and you should tell them what you think, okay? Because the reason I got involved in politics was because I wanted to actually preserve the viewshed of the cliffs. When my predecessor granted a permission to build 135 or 140 foot tower in Englewood Cliffs. So, you know, our height restriction is 35 feet. LG ended up building a very nice campus. Of course, it's one of the best buildings in New Jersey. It's higher than 35, but it was a compromise below the tree line. So, and everyone knows I'm not a tree hugger, but we have to be logical, folks. Okay. So let's be logical together. The other thing is I had asked several months ago, Mr. Marinello, for a form of ordinance whereby if somebody drops a house, knocks it down, they need to actually start building a new house and not just leave barren land with a hole in it or even worse. So I haven't seen that from you yet. We have a budget discussion tonight, possibly a vote. There's a whole lot of salaries being discussed tonight, which nobody has discussed with me. These have just appeared, and the ranges are somewhat astronomical when you think about the size of our town. You know, if you guys start passing these types of salaries, you're essentially going to make towns like Englewood Cliffs unsustainable. Okay, it doesn't work. Taxpayers are going to have enough of this. And if you look back at the history of Englewood Cliffs and where it came from, in 1895, Google Burrowitis. Okay, there used to be about 18 towns in Bergen County, and then it shot up to 72 towns. Okay, and that's 72 basic cost centers, and people are just having enough of that. There's also a new position being created out of thin air in the agenda. It's number 180. I encourage the public to voice their opinion on that. No one discussed that with me. Quite frankly, if our borough employees work 30 hours a week, borough hall employees work 30 hours a week, I'm not sure where that person could actually sustain more time to get paid an additional $11,000. It just kind of seems like somewhat nefarious to me that that's even being considered. And then finally, something that bothered me a lot, which I found out 2 months after the fact, was that we had a resident be very abusive to one of our borough hall workers. And if you're a resident and you have an issue with the town, if something's overgrown, you don't like something, just be courteous. These people work with the town and live here. There's no reason to have the police have to come out to look you over and talk to you about it, okay? I won't stand for that. No matter who it is, I won't stand for that, okay? That being said, we could go to number 5, which is 2023 municipal budget hearing. Yes.
Just a couple things. The 180 that the mayor mentioned, this is something that was brought up by 2 previous administrators, that 180, Grant Marinuzzi has been doing this job the whole time. And so when he talks about 30 hours, this is something that she's already been doing and hasn't been compensated for. And there's been a lot of other compensation adjustments that the prior administration did for people that also backdated it to the January. So got back pay. So this is just something that our previous administration had nothing to do with us. This was Chris Ratz and.
You're the one introducing it, though.
Finish, please. And JB, our other previous administrator, had recommended to us to be fair to all the employees. So I just like to put that out there. Second thing, with regard to from my understanding, the Preserve the Cliffs issue was a building in Edgewater that was going to be almost 200 feet higher than the cliffs. So someone in Hudson County put this bill together that's right now, it's actually stalled. There was actually an article in the paper today that it's actually stalled because the trades are actually fighting against it. But it was really to preserve the view because this building in Edgewater was, like I said, going to be almost 200 feet higher than the cliff. So that's where this really started, just to be transparent with everything. And thirdly, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the order of business and go to closed session.
I just want to add one thing, though, regarding the cliffs. You know, it becomes a joke, right? Because you have people down in Trenton and elsewhere who have no idea what this part of New Jersey even looks like. Their big trip to the city is, you know, going to Philadelphia, right? That's about it, right? So be vocal. It's not. Look, I think the whole thing is just to set up, and it's also there's a U.S. senator implicated for some wrongdoing in that building that I thank Mr. Luciano for mentioning, because you know, I think if you're going to sit in public office and you keep getting indicted over and over, you should really have a good look at your life, okay, and rethink it. And I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. If you're in public office, don't behave that way. Go on a good, honest living. If you want to make money, get out of politics. I always said that. You should never leave politics wealthier than you went in, okay? All right, we have a motion to go into closed session.
Can I say something, Mayor Kranjak?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that, you know, it was really wonderful what some people who were able to by preserving the Palisades. Unfortunately, in our town, it seems that nobody cares about the trees. We have, you know, we have all the liberals talking about saving the trees, save the animals, save whatever. But when it comes to doing all this large construction, they don't seem to have an issue with that. And it's kind of sad that we don't have people that are really more interested in preserving the beauty of Englewood Cliffs. Thank you.
Thanks. Do I have a second to reorder the agenda? All right, can we have a vote? This is a vote to go into closed session, so reordering the agenda.
Member Valari,
Yes.
Member Katrubis. Member Katrubis,
No.
Member Kim,
Yes. to the motion.
Council President Luciano,
Aye.
Member Simon,
Yes.
Member Di Gregorio,
No.
I'm sorry, but did we just vote about going into public session?
no,
Closed session.
I'm sorry, can you
It
repeat
was a
that?
vote, hold on, everybody, let me speak. It was a vote to go into closed session.
I see. Okay. Can I change my vote?
Yes.
No.
3-3, I'll break the tie now. And one of the reasons is I know there's residents here, and I want them to be able to speak and not have to wait for us, okay, so. So we have the municipal budget hearing, this is 23-176. Adoption of the 2023 municipal budget. So this is the budget that's been introduced already. It was voted on at the last regular meeting and it failed to pass. As mayor, I cannot vote on this. I'm not allowed to, as much as I'd like to. And so that's it. You guys go at it. Do we have to open to the public, Joe? All right,
Oh, no, this is,
it's without the amendment.
we already had the.
We had the open, right, we had the open public portion on this. Nothing has changed. I'm sorry.
Before we take any action, I want to go on the record and make a presentation on the different options.
Sure, you know what, maybe you should grab that microphone so people could hear you.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing, Mayor.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Do you want to leave it on this thing?
Yeah,
We're here, you're here.
So the budget was, can everybody hear me? Or is it on? So the budget was introduced in June.
I'm sorry, can I introduce you probably? This is our CFO, Schwab, okay.
I don't know that this is actually working.
Okay.
It doesn't appear any louder. He's talking to me.
Let's give it a test here.
If you can screen it a little.
David usually gets these things going.
Sometimes.
I'm sorry, you're very garbled. I can't hear anything.
Okay, so let's get louder. Okay. That's a little bit better. Can you hear? Councilwoman.
I'm sorry, it's all garbled. It's hard to follow what anybody is saying when everything is garbled.
We'll get you. What, did you mind maybe coming up here?
Yeah.
do you want to sit my?
Oh,
Maybe she's on Maria's house. Speak on her Zoom.
Councilwoman, can you hear me now?
I could hear you.
Okay, so,
Stuart, you say favor, we'll repeat it.
if you could use this microphone, just kind of next and close.
Are you going to go over there in the corner?
But you know what, we have an empty seat here. We can just sit there.
We have two empty seats.
Not to draw attention to the empty seat, but we have empty seats.
If you don't-
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I can.
So the budget was introduced at the June meeting. We went through the process of submitting the budget to the state. The state reviewed the budget. They had their comments. The comments were addressed to. We received the clearance from DLGS to adopt the budget as is after the hearing at the July meeting. During the introduction, I made it very clear that the budget could be amended if there are any concerns from the council members. With the exception of the mayor, I don't think I got any comments from anybody else. At the July meeting, when the hearing was open, I was delayed, so I was not able to attend the hearing, but I understand there was nobody present at the hearing. The vote was taken for the adoption of the budget. and it was defeated. We did not receive the 4 votes. At the time, I was shocked because since I had not received any comments during the 4-week period as to what the reason could be for not voting on the budget. Nonetheless, I was directed to reach out to the council members who did not vote on the budget. I did my best and I reached out to 2 council members. One I spoke to on the phone, and when I was able to schedule a meeting in person at the Borough Hall. That council member was Mr. Di Gregorio, Councilman Di Gregorio. His recommendation was to make a change to the budget in the legal services line for $500,000. I took that recommendation and I circulated it to the full council. And I reached out to the state as to what their input is on the amendment. They have no issue with the amendment. However, since that amendment is significant, it increases or decreases your appropriation by more than 10%. It requires a separate hearing. Considering the time that you're at between introduction and the second meeting after the adoption is 2 months. So even a 1 week will cause a negative impact on your generation of tax bills and your cash flow. It's fortunate that we have sufficient surplus that we have been able to carry forward without going into tax anticipation notes, which some towns would have to do in situations like this. So my goal at this point is to have the budget adopted as is, as it was approved by the state. So I went ahead and prepared a number of options which have been circulated. And I'll start with the first option, which of course is to make no changes to the budget and adopt it as it was approved by the state. There will be no special meeting required. There will be no delay in tax bills. You can have the tax rate as early as next week, and the tax collector can start the process of mailing out the tax bills. Just to summarize, the budget as it was approved and introduced keeps the municipal levy flat, and the taxes on average assessment will go down by $12. I know it's not much, but at least it's not going. The second option is to do the same as number 1, keep the budget as is and adopt it as it was approved by the state, and to get the same changes as it was recommended by Councilman Di Gregorio, is to pass a companion resolution and cancel the appropriation for legal services by $500,000. It will have the same impact, and you can use that surplus. It will lapse into surplus, and you can use that money for next year's budget. Again, you'll have no special meeting required, and there'll be no delay in tax bills. The third option is to only make the changes on the revenues. If the intent of cutting the legal services by $500,000 is to reduce the tax levy, we can accomplish it in a different way. Our surplus is $4.2 million. We are using $2 million in this budget. That leaves us with another $2.2 million. So we could, in fact, reduce the tax levy by the same $500,000 and use more of the surplus, $500,000. And just like option 2, pass a companion resolution to cancel the appropriation for legal services by $500,000. It accomplishes the same thing, but eliminates the need for a special meeting and causes no delay in tax bills. Option number 4, which will require a special meeting and tax bills will be delayed by at least 2 weeks, is to amend the budget as recommended by $500,000 for legal services, and that will result in a $200 decrease in local taxes. Last option, which will also require a special meeting and tax bills will be delayed, is to amend the budget and cut the legal services line by $500,000, but instead of reducing the tax levy, you put that $500,000 in reserve for tax appeals, which are numerous, and we have only budgeted $700,000 in this year's budget. So that line item can never have enough money, so you can always put that $500,000 back into that reserve line. So these are the 5 options. The last 2 options will require a special meeting, which should be decided upon tonight, so the amendment can be advertised accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Appreciate it. Yes.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, can you please tell the public what the approved budget? Because you didn't say it, the approved budget is a 0 tax increase, correct?
No, I thought I
The
meant-
flat tax.
Yeah,
I want everybody to understand that it was a 0 tax increase
Correct.
for this year, making sure we plan for the budget going forward, because quite honestly, we have a lot of exposures. We have a lot of things that are potentially coming. We have Oprah cases that haven't been satisfied this year that we could potentially have. I'm 99% sure we're gonna have litigation because it's Miss O'Shea and it's Miss Eastwood. And if you go by the history of all of our litigation, that's where it comes from. So
You just conflicted yourself out from having
last month, I was accused of not holding budget hearings because I'm on the finance chair. But since we hired a borough administrator, we advised the administrator what we were looking for in our taxes, in our new tax bills. And we said we wanted a 0 increase. That's what came back. We didn't have any budget hearings because when you have a borough administrator, it's their job to meet with all the department heads and present that budget to the mayor and council. Okay, so we came with a 0% increase and it was voted down. Okay, is there extra money? Evidently, there's a little extra money, just like there was last year in legal. It was 2.1 last year. We reduced it to 2 million. And as how we built our surplus this year to be able to have a flat budget was exactly that. Okay, to keep the money that was in the budget, because we have tax appeals, we have 800 Sylvan, we have something that we're accumulating $2,000 a day, $2,000 a day fine with the court. Okay, that we're also last month, we wanted to hire someone because somewhere in the mix, some information wasn't passed on to us. And that's what got us in the problem that we're in with the new attorneys with our Oprah cases. We did try last month to hire someone to investigate why. There's a complaint of why we're spending so much money with the attorneys to satisfy this Oprah. But for some reason, there was not a vote to hire an attorney to look into why this is happening, which is baffling to me. It's like on one side, you're gonna say, you know, it's like Dick Tracy Two-Face. You know, on one side, you're gonna say, this is way too much money. Why are we doing this? But then when we say, let's find out why we were doing this, you vote no. So I understand why the mayor, Mr. Laurie and Tim want to do this. The mayor has put in an email, he wants a bare bone budget. And you know why they want a bare bone budget? Because all the money that's going to come in for the rest of this year, where right now they want a $200 reduction instead of planning for the future, is so that next year, when we have to raise an additional $1 million, the people that are still here, not the mayor, not Tim, not Maria, they're not going to be here. And all they're going to do is point the finger at us and say, why? Why are your taxes going up so much? You want to know why? Because there's an email right here from the mayor that says he wants a bare bone budget.
Why don't you read my email?
That's not the
Why
way-
don't you read my
That's
email?
not the way municipal finance should
Why
work.
don't you read my
You should
email?
always try to plan for the future, and that's what they're
No, I-
not trying to do.
All right, are you finished?
Yeah.
You finished? Because, let me just finish. So Mr. Luciano has historically had a lot of problems with facts and transparency. Okay, now I'll let you speak. I'll let you speak. Now you have to stop speaking, okay? It's not your turn anymore. We're gonna give you time out if you keep that, okay? Basically, my proposal was just cut back the legal budget, not the entire budget. I never cut services since I've been mayor. Taxes, but cut back the legal services. We've got guys who we're paying a lot of money for, Marinello, Lunch, Serenian. They do nothing for the town. They just push vegetables around the plate and then charge us. Okay, that's all they do. All they do. And so the 500,000 should really be $1 million cut. But I know you can't do that, Glenn, because you have to pay these people back for helping you all along the way, which is all other story. I am looking to the future. You're looking to the past because you're trying to pay for the past for the people who have helped you be who you are and who you aren't and who you should be and who you are not. But really, we don't need to have these guys. All I said was we can hire a junior lawyer, a first-year attorney can do a better job than Marinello. I've been waiting 3 months for you to give me a very simple ordinance. You can just go to other boroughs, I told you, and find their ordinances. It's not rocket science, Joe. Nothing to do with rocket science. I've never been more disappointed. I'm an attorney with lawyers that in this town and this state.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, you are garbled.
Hold on. All right, so look, the 500,000, I'll accept. It should be a cut. Mr. Luciano wants to basically send that money to his friends. I want to send it back to the taxpayers. Okay, there's no reason to be getting charged $2,000 a day. If everyone does their job, you wouldn't have that penalty. That's on you guys, okay? I'm the mayor. I don't do that. You guys get paid salaries and fees. Do your jobs, get rid of these fees and fines. It's ridiculous. And who cares who's bringing these Oprah lawsuits? The fact of the matter is you didn't comply with Oprah. That's the Open Public Records Act, folks. It's a very simple law to comply with. And for some reason, it's a challenge in this town because
Mayor's voice is not coming over the Zoom.
too many people are trying to hide things from the public. And when the public asks for those things rightfully and lawfully, they don't get them and then they sue. So that's not the taxpayer's problem. That's your problem. You figure it out. Don't raise taxes, cut the legal budget, hire better attorneys if you have to, but this has to end right here, okay?
Can I respond, please?
Go-
You know,
go ahead,
our
sorry.
attorneys have done more.
No, hold on. Mr. DiGregorio has the floor next.
And the attorneys have done in the past.
You're out of order. Mr. DiGregorio had the. And by the way, he mentions an email I sent, but he won't read it because I basically said, I had to go find it. Well, you said you had it. Basically said, just cut it back to a first-year attorney. That's all you
That's
need.
not what he said. Oh, you want me to read it, Mayor? I have it right here. I will definitely read it for you, okay? Where it
Read it,
says
Mayor.
here,
I'll read it.
you don't have to read it. You don't have it, remember? Dear council majority, has to stop funneling money to their attorneys. The mayor has a new policy this year, every Monday. Even we have a meeting tonight. He wants our attorneys, all of our attorneys to come and sit at a meeting just for him
Just read the email.
on Monday to pay additional legal fees. And then he's gonna complain about the legal fees. Just like right now, they're gonna complain next year, well, you gotta raise taxes, but word for word, Democratic council majority has to stop funneling money to their lawyer friends and put residents first. Cut the legal line budget, ANS, whatever that means,
And
to, I want to bare bones.
bare bones.
That's exactly what I said.
The legal budget.
Cut it bare bones.
But not the higher budget, the legal budget.
March, Serenian, Mensch, Marinello, find suitable employment elsewhere.
Right.
Our attorneys with 800 Sylvan, with our own affordable housing project, call Michaels. I invite you to please call the Michaels Group and find out who drug their feet for the past 2 years and who's done more in the last 6 months. Our attorneys, and I thank them for the work that they've been doing.
Well, I'm glad you want affordable housing so badly. That's really a good thing for you, but not for us. It's not a it's an unlawful constitution in New Jersey in terms of taking money. It's a public taking. Yes, and by the way, yeah, one second, please. Okay. I have a meeting on Mondays for about 10 or 15 minutes with attorneys to catch up.
1 hour.
Because, no,
I showed up the 3 of them.
No.
No.
You don't have the floor. You have to get used to not having the floor. You never have before you need it. Okay?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
can I make a suggestion? I think it's your microphone that's bad because I don't have any trouble hearing Glenn. Maybe if you switch it out so you're not as gargled.
All right, let me.
Try not speaking directly into it too. Maybe that'll help. I don't know.
It'd be fine, make sure it's on.
Okay. So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Much better.
Okay, the reason I have those meetings is because Glenn has told Marinello, Wunsch, Serenia not to deal with me, not to talk to me, not to give me information. So I forced them to attend a meeting every Monday at 4 o'clock. Okay, that's why. Because Mr. Luciano will tell you he's transparent, but he's nothing but non-transparent. Okay, I just view him as a political miscreant at this point, all right? That's all you are.
Name,
Go ahead.
Okay.
Mr. DiGregorio.
Yeah, I wouldn't use this. Say that it seems to be overlooked.
Can't hear a word, can't hear a word.
I love this Zoom.
Okay, let me try another microphone. Try this one.
Can you ask Mr. Lord, maybe something?
I don't think yours is working at all, David. I think it sounds like you're.
If the council people were here, they'd be able to hear everything.
Councilman Petrusis, can you hear me?
Very good. Thank you.
Now you can hear me. All right, sorry. So just a reminder that I had the solid no vote on the budget the last time we voted for it. I seem to remember reading in some literature that I got in the mailbox a while ago that a tax decrease was promised to the community. And if I'm going to be working hard on campaigns and so forth, I want to make sure that promises are kept. It's time that everyone in town, and thank you, CFO, he calculated that the average would be a $200.
Why is Luciano's
rate.
microphone the only one
Advocate
working?
that. It's time to tighten our belts, cut the legal.
I mean, it's,
And
Yeah.
let's all work together to make it work. It's doable. It takes a little bit while, a little longer, but the public deserves it. And a $200 tax decrease is something that is a little bit more substantial than $12. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. Anybody else on council have any comments? We haven't had a motion to,
I have a question for our CFO. When we reduce the tax levy, that you're basically reducing the revenues from all property taxes within our town, is that correct?
Say that again?
When we reduce the tax levy, you'll be reducing the tax revenues that come in from the property taxes in our town?
Yeah, the tax
Okay.
levy is the property.
And that will be include all the commercial and office spaces along Silver Avenue, in addition to,
Reduces your overall tax rate, so
Everybody,
will get the-
correct. Does most of our tax revenues come from the commercial and office spaces in town as opposed to the residents? Does a larger portion
I don't
or,
have a percentage breakdown, but I would say that probably you would have a decent size of commercial base.
okay, and so when we reduce the tax levy, although we would love all of those savings to go to residents only, by reducing the tax levy, we're actually robbing our residents of the income that can be produced from commercial spaces, office spaces, corporations that are here located in Inglewood Cliffs and enjoy the public services that we provide, whether it's the streets and things like that. And we're robbing our residents from obtaining income from them for a year. That's my particular issue with, I would love to reduce it, but we have, as Councilman Luciano pointed out, a lot of things in the future that are coming up. We are aware of it because we're lucky to be on this council and have reports from our professionals and attorneys report up on these things. Unfortunately, the public may not be aware of these things, and we would love to, get that knowledge out there. But I believe responsible planning for the future would be keeping a flat levy. Under our current budget, it will reduce, it's not much, the taxes by $12.18, practically nothing. I understand that. But in order for us to be responsible and to plan for the future, I think it's best to pass this budget.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say something, please.
go ahead.
Mr. Kim talks about being responsible, right? And I've sent numerous emails throughout the year regarding our attorney's behavior. As an attorney himself, an officer of the court, he knows better than this. He's yet to address any of it. And I think that what's irresponsible here is that he just turns a complete blind eye to what's going on, and the public deserves better.
May I
We need
respond?
to remove, we need to remove indemnification. As an attorney, he knows that you do not grant any attorneys indemnification, period. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kim, you don't have the floor, you don't have the floor. Mr. Kim, were you ever indemnified as an attorney?
I have some of my clients do indemnity.
These guys, but
I'm sorry, that's not humana. I have some of my clients sign indemnity agreements for me. Yes, where they want me to do risky behavior that I wouldn't normally do or recommend, but because they're instructing me to do that, I would.
Is it a release or is it indemnity? That's
No,
different.
it's indemnity.
Right, so,
The whole
but
policy
you're
is indemnity.
indemnifying the public servants when you're in.
It's in their particular it's already in the attorney contracts. That was what was
But
negotiated.
it's not in the bid. That was never in the bid
I like to
document.
particularly-
Yeah, but that was never in the bid
Yeah,
document.
may I
You
respond
added
to
that.
Councilman's
Yeah, go ahead.
this accusation of me turning a blind eye to so-called unethical behavior by attorneys? I have remained silent because I did not want to be involved in personal attacks from council members and attorneys. It comes from both sides, unfortunately. I've already discussed this with the Democratic councilman about the behavior of attorneys. But at the same time, Councilman Katrubis has become threatening and violent in private closed session meetings with attorneys. Now, I don't want to say anything.
I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Can you repeat that? Threatening, and what? Just be clear.
I did not want to get into those personal tit for tats, okay? I didn't want to
You
criticize
just
you.
did, so we're going.
When you're accusing me of turning a blind eye, honestly, I'm not turning a blind eye. I see everything that's going on. It's just I choose not to become involved in that childish behavior.
Okay, so may I rebuttal this?
You can be violent if you want.
I'm sorry, who said the violent part?
Kim said, Chris Kim said, hey, I apologize.
Yeah, I would like for you to submit, I would like for you to submit some sort of proof of that behavior, okay? It's one thing, sir. Yeah, you can sit, it's one thing, sir, when you have professionals in closed session calling council people stupid, okay? At that point, they've crossed the line, and you know better than that. And you also know better than to identify other attorneys, okay?
It's
So you can
mutual.
try to play the
Honestly,
public
it's mutual.
as much as you'd like,
Yeah,
Mr. Kim,
to that.
but your behavior speaks for itself. As an attorney, you know better than to indemnify other
I'm trying to be
attorneys.
civil, okay? I'm trying to show respect for you as well as other attorneys.
That has nothing to do with indemnification, sir. That has nothing to do with indemnification.
I want to just make it clear that the indemnification has nothing to do with malpractice claims.
Mr. Mayor, may I please continue? Because it seems like Mr. Kim is skirting around the issue and trying to point the finger at people who are actually trying to do their job, okay?
I want to go beyond tit for tat.
We will go tit for tat, sir. I will take this to the public. No worries.
Can we let Mr. Katrubis finish a sentence without an interruption?
This is exactly what happens in closed session, folks. Anytime somebody tries to articulate their thoughts get broken up. They get fingers pointed at them. They get attacked by attorneys who are making $30-something thousand a month. One of them is making $20,000 a month, and another one is on average making $20,000 a month. And when you add all this up, these are the very same attorneys who went to the judiciary and they were complaining that when other people were litigating that they were spending too much in fees. Well, collectively, they're spending more than anybody else has ever spent. So you really have no argument to any of this, Mr. Kim, okay?
Sure, Councilman. Okay, let's get back to the budget. So did anybody want to make a motion to approve the
I
budget?
make a motion to accept the budget 23,176 as presented and accepted by the state.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, we had discussion already, I believe, unless somebody has something else to add. We can have a roll call.
Member Valari,
No.
Member Katrubis,
Abstain.
Member Kim,
Yes.
Council President Luciano,
Aye.
Member Simon,
Yes.
Member Di Gregorio.
No,
Okay, so budget fails. You needed 4 positive votes and there's no tie. And even if there was, I could not break that tie. Hold on a second. Does anybody want to make a motion to introduce?
I want to be recognized before we do anything else, please.
We could do it during discussion.
I want to be
But
recognized.
you already spoke.
No, I want to be recognized.
No.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have no budget. We can't pay bills. We have no budget.
Well, actually-
Somebody said something, anything else, no.
Actually, that's a bit of a knee jerk because you could actually, there are solutions to not having a budget. You could have,
Vote it down.
you could have.
Motion to adjourn. And there's a second.
I would make a motion to reintroduce the.
There's a motion and a second on the.
There was no second.
There was two.
I did.
You seconded that?
Yes, I
All right, so you guys want to go home and watch television?
Excuse me?
Why don't you stay and work?
We want to go home and watch television. I want to go.
Whatever I want to do.
All right, so there's a motion to adjourn, there's and a second, let's have a vote to adjourn the meeting.
Member Valari,
I don't think the meeting should be adjourned. We have a whole agenda to go through. There's just not one thing on this agenda. There's many. There's 179, 180, 181. Well, I don't have to read them. How could you adjourn a meeting? Because you didn't get your way.
Oh, we can't pay the bills.
Well, stick around, stick around, all right, you don't have the floor. You're a no, Maria? Okay,
Yes, so no.
Member Katrubis,
You know, is the issue because the Democrats refuse to work because their attorneys aren't getting paid? No, of
Yeah.
course
I
not.
just wanted to hear you abstain.
But it sounds like.
Member Vitruvius,
The vote is to adjourn.
It is to adjourn,
No,
Mr.
no, I said no.
Okay,
Member Kim,
I would not like to adjourn.
Council President Luciano,
I'll withdraw my motion.
I don't know, can we withdraw or do you have to finish the
I'll
vote?
Make a motion to withdraw my, if the second's willing to withdraw it, then that's how Robert's rules work.
We're in the middle of a
We
vote.
already have 3 no votes. All somebody has.
Don't we have to finish the vote?
There's no withdrawing like that.
Just go.
No.
No,
Okay,
No, so
all right,
finish the roll.
all right, so,
Let's finish the roll.
Member Simon? No. Member Di Gregorio?
No.
okay, so like I said, that was a knee-jerk reaction to a problem. Stick around and work, okay? Don't leave. Okay, Mr. Di Gregorio, you're in the middle of a sentence, I think.
Yes. I think it's obvious for resubmitting the budget to the state for approval.
Mr. De Gregorio, can you speak a little bit louder?
All right, can you hear me now?
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
great. I'll be right into the microphone and move this phone out of the way. All right, so I just think, as I said before, $200 plus back to the average resident. Option number 4, if I understand our CFO correctly, would take care of that. We have to resubmit to the state. It would be delayed a couple of weeks, and we have to have a special meeting. Take it or leave it.
Okay, that's the motion, number 4, okay. The motion is to pass option number 4. And I'll read it just so the public knows what we're talking about. It requires a special meeting, tax bills will be delayed, but they will be sent out eventually. Amend budget per the proposed amendment circulated, reducing the legal services line by $500,000 and reducing the tax levy by $500,000, resulting in approximately a $200 decrease in local taxes. That's the motion. Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, so, okay, there's no second, Mr. Di Gregorio. All right, so now council needs to solve the next problem, which is the original problem. We need a budget. Does anybody want to propose any other options?
I make a motion to approve the minutes number 8.
No, we're on something else right now. Okay, is there anybody on council wishing to introduce another option? All right,
My option, option number 4. Take
Well,
it or leave
then
it.
just
On a
get a
budget
second.
of offering a budget here, as the CFO indicated.
Mayor.
Takes a little bit of extra work. Everyone in town gets an average of 200. You aren't denying that my Democrat colleagues here are denying this town something that was promised in the campaign.
Oh,
And I am holding your feet to the fire because it's the right thing to do. And it's also the right thing to do because we have to get a grip on what we're paying these attorneys. I've coined the phrase, pigs at the trough. That we cannot have, not in Englewood Cliffs, not while I sit here on council. I am elected by the people, I'm serving the people, I'm not serving the party. I'm an independent person that is looking to do the best I can for Englewood Cliffs, like it or not.
so
Take number 4, and I'm holding the Democrats to this is on you, Democrats. It's on you.
we hear you, David. There you go.
Okay,
I
all right.
want to make sure everyone hears me, because it's not on me at this point.
It's
It's
100% on you.
So the motion is number 4. Is there a second for number 4?
Didn't we already have a?
We did.
Okay, so let me, hold on. You don't have the floor. You don't have the floor. You don't have the floor. Yeah, it's my meeting, okay? No, it's fine. I will. I'm asking Ms. Valari and Mr. Katrubis if there's any other option that you want to introduce. Okay. Hearing and seeing none.
Mayor, I would like to
Can I
introduce
just
another
also,
option.
the residents that came in are sitting behind the screen. You're welcome to come here or somewhere. You don't have to sit behind the screen. You can sit in front of the screen if you want.
it there.
It's fine. You can sit wherever you want, but I feel bad. You can go wherever you want. I'll switch spots with you. How's that?
Mayor, I'd like to just introduce another option. By asking the CFO. What would there be any delay? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you can move over there. If you stand in the side of vision.
The option number 2, just to get that correct in terms of my thinking, just so the public is aware and members of the council. Basically, we wouldn't require a special meeting, nor would be a delay in the tax bills. It would take out 500,000 from the legal services line item and put it into reserve for other things that may pop up.
Correct. If you go with option number 2, you will basically be adding another resolution from the floor authorizing you to cancel the appropriation by $500,000, which you can do by resolution.
Okay,
So the only difference between option 2 and option 4 is that option 2 will not realize that $500 savings, $500,000 savings this year. It will actually go through the surplus route for next year's budget cycle. And option number 4 will actually reduce the tax levy this year and pass on the savings this year.
okay.
And
So,
since-
yeah, so in the future, we can reduce, if we wanted to, the tax levy while having the $500,000 in hand.
Correct.
Okay,
And I just want to go further, since it looks like there will be no budget adoption and no budget amendment. I think the next step will probably be from DLGS or either a state takeover completely of your finances, or at least the director of DLGS forcing you to adopt the budget. At which point this board will not,
But it's not true that they can adopt the budget.
they can also adopt, that's
Yes,
what I
they
was
don't
going to say
need to
next,
do
yes.
anything other than the
Yes.
state can adopt the budget the way it was approved in the
Correct,
first
they can
place.
force us to
That's an
adopt
option
it.
that they have.
okay. And does a surplus, does that collect interest?
Yes,
Well, again,
basically your money, it's
okay.
your corporate, yeah, that's basically what's helping you right now, because you have no tax bills on the street, but you're still paying your bills and you have employees working. So
If tax bills are delayed, do we lose money in terms of interest?
Well, it's not as
that
much as interest, it's basically your cash flow. I mean, you
Right.
basically have no money on hand to pay your bills and pay your employees. We are
Okay.
fortunate that we have enough reserves and surplus that it hasn't caused a dire need to go out and issue tax anticipation.
We're cutting into our surplus right now.
Correct, yes.
Okay, right now we're cutting into our surplus, okay.
Okay.
So Mayor, I would like to introduce option number 2 I would like to make a motion to introduce option number 2 and see if the council members.
All right, so option number 2 is no special meeting, no delay in tax bills, make no changes and adopt the budget as approved by the state. Municipal levy remains flat and total municipal taxes are reduced by $12.18. Adopt a companion resolution to cancel the legal services appropriation by $500,000, which will lapse to surplus and can be used next year for the budget. Now, if history predicts the future, I wouldn't trust them to pass that second companion resolution. So just word of caution to people who think that they're actually going to get a second resolution.
Question.
Hold on. So just be careful with what you approve, because you may not get the second part of it, okay? Because there's a lot of sleight of hand going on here.
No, it's fear mongering.
I just, Mayor, to clarify, if you're gonna go with option number 2, you basically would have adopted the budget as it was introduced. So since that's already not adopted, I guess option number 1 and 2 are no longer on the table.
And what's the process for the companion resolution?
Can we have another vote on the adoption again?
Well, it's only, I mean, you can keep voting.
You can't do it twice at the same meeting.
This is not the same motion technically. This is a adoption of the budget with the companion resolution
Correct, I
to
guess so.
cancel the.
But that's a separate vote. Those are two separate votes.
Well, not if they're in one motion. which-
That's what I'm saying. It's all wrapped up in one vote. Yeah.
But that's not the budget that was, hold on, you don't have the floor. Hold on, you don't have the floor, but that's not the, I run the meeting, I'm the chair of the meeting, you just have to stop speaking out of turn. You could say things over and over, it doesn't make them right, and it doesn't make you smart, okay? On the contrary. So, that's not the budget that was presented to the state, though.
It is the same budget.
Not with the companion resolution.
Right.
It says make no changes and adopt the budget as approved by the state.
Right, and then you said you're gonna add a resolution to the same budget, so how do you do that?
You're not adding that companion resolution to the budget, you're just passing another resolution after the budget.
That's not what he said, though. Listen to what he said very carefully and what he suggested. He said, do one motion for both.
Let's do two motions, Mayor.
That's the motion.
Okay,
You can
it has to be
put
two
form
motions.
for
Okay.
exceptions if you want, but if you want a budget, I don't even think you're gonna get 4 votes for this, but let's assume.
But you can't,
You could,
look, if I was sitting here on council and I didn't want to get sideswiped by this, I wouldn't trust you guys to pass that second resolution, okay? Because if history predicts the future, you're not gonna be honest about it.
Second on that resolution.
Mayor, I would like to make the motion for the resolution immediately following the passing of the budget, so it's 2 votes, okay? And we'll vote
And
on
if you
right
don't,
now
what do
with
we
the
have to lose,
resolution.
right?
Are you afraid of passing the budget, Mayor?
I'm not afraid of
Can we
anything.
put it up for a vote?
Especially
Let's
you
see
guys.
let's see if the council will vote for it. If we have the 4 votes for passing the motion with immediate resolution afterwards, appropriating the $500,000 out of legal services into surplus
But
for use next
that's
year.
not binding.
It's binding if we pass the resolution right now, immediately after the vote for the budget.
Right, but that assumes that you're gonna actually pass it.
We will.
Well,
We will.
How many votes do you need to pass the amendment?
Can we?
Four.
you need 4?
Four.
You don't know?
No.
No, the companion resolution.
You know what, I'll amend my motion. Let's make a motion to pass a resolution. Can we pass a resolution that says that we will appropriate $500,000 and put it from the legal service and put it into surplus so long as the budget is passed tonight?
If I
Can't we do
if
that?
I can clarify, the appropriate title will be a resolution canceling the appropriation. And you can't cancel an appropriation because you don't have enough budget.
I see, okay.
And also, you're not giving that money back to the taxpayers. You're just taking it from them and putting it into another journal entry. So.
We are giving it by taxpayers because it's surplus for use for next year.
But why would, if I was a taxpayer here, why would I trust you guys? Why would I trust, and I am a taxpayer here.
Same reason why they trusted you 4 years
If
ago.
it,
As I said, if you lower the tax levy, the largest portion of lowering that goes to corporations and commercial property owners along Sylvan Avenue,
There is.
not the residents. Okay?
Well, actually, you know,
If we collect it to this year, then it'll be reserved for the residents.
you had no problem just taking 30 acres and handing it over to affordable housing.
We're on a different
right?
issue. We're on a
Yeah,
different
no,
issue, Mayor. Mayor, let's stick to the issue of
The
the
net
budget.
result on taxpayers.
I'm
Let's
saying-
stick to the issue.
There's a motion and a second.
All right.
It's unbelievable.
This is for option number 2.
So this is for option number 2, folks. We're voting on it. There's a motion and a second.
Member Valari,
No,
member Petrubis,
No.
member Kim,
Yes.
So,
Council President Luciano,
Aye.
member Simon,
Yes.
member Di Gregorio.
No,
it's 3-3. I don't vote. I don't break this tie.
Can you make, one of the department reports there? That's next on the list.
I could read the agenda. I'm pretty good at that. Okay. Actually, what's next on the agenda is Borough Charity Project.
Yeah.
This is a great project. We've been doing it for about 6 years now. Because I always wanted to come to a meeting, no matter how much we argue and fight, that we actually do something good for the community. This is to support the local food pantry at St. Cecilia's Church. It's the Office of Concern in Englewood. We've been supporting it with non-perishable food items and money donations. And while you may not appreciate this because we live in Englewood Cliffs, there are a lot of people in Bergen County who are working poor. They have jobs, but they don't have enough money to support their families. So we try to help the food pantry along. There's about 1,000 families that benefit from it. It's a great cause. Please do contribute. Okay, next on the agenda is the department reports. Mr. Neville, actually, construction department. Is there anybody from the construction department? DPW, Mr. Neville? Yeah. No microphone. Yeah, you just go up there. Might be fine.
No? Should I use this now or no?
Fine. Psychologically, I think it's amplifying, but it's not. It's not working.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Couple of things, very busy in Public Works. June 10th recycling event that unfortunately got canceled has been rescheduled for August 26th. Same as applies, 9 to 1 at DPW on a Saturday. Secondly, the single ride bicycle signs have been posted and installed on the streets recommended by the chief. And they seem to be recognized by the public. Moving on to PSE&G. PSE&G substation project is moving along. They actually have their 2 base mats set up, and I think they're just waiting delivery of equipment.
When will that be completed?
Well, the whole project's years long, Mayor. It's a 3-year project.
You're gonna have the best electricity around.
Yeah, it's gonna be right. It's been busy, right? So, but they're moving along.
So can you, people are asking me, and maybe you could explain the new phone poles that they've put in along Hudson Terrace and Palisades.
Yeah,
much
much more
taller.
line work that ties to.
They're much taller, so
They're a lot taller, right?
why is that?
And I'm not exactly sure why they're taller. I just know they're gonna carry them with more service
More
to the
service?
substation.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to do with
Is there a
that.
reason why they're still using timber and not like concrete poles?
No, timber's has always been in there.
Yeah.
So,
Partial understanding of that project is that if one section goes out, this adds redundancy. So they're going all the way down Charlotte. They're gonna have more circuits there. So it's bottom line, we should have less power outages, and that's something that's been plaguing the town. So,
Agreed, yeah.
You know, talking to those people, it's an amazing project, and it's wonderful to see a lot of the electrical going underground and some of the utilities going underground. But that's my understanding.
Agreed, yes, yeah.
It's the whole project is a $92 million
It's a
project.
big number, yeah, huge project.
And, you know, it's just amazing to see all the work and the improvements going on. It makes you not feel a little less bad about paying taxes or paying your PSE&G bill.
Right, yeah. The infrastructure upgrade is
Thanks.
considerable. Also, on the note PSE&G, it's a project that's coming out shortly. We had a pre-con this week. They're proposing gas main work from Palisade to Linkrest. So the gas main work, some of what they just did in the south end of town, really, that was a Fort Lee project. But that's gonna be Palisade to Linkrest, every road in between is gonna be. Right, I mean.
So that's a high pressure gas
High
service.
pressure gas, yeah.
So your barbecues are,
Yeah, it's everything we want.
we're out there.
Generators, barbecues, whatever you
All right.
want, and
You could see a steak.
right. Lastly, DNL pavings in town, they're about halfway through that project. They just paved Van Oshern this morning, and they're up milling in the north on Roberts Johnson, finishing Coburg. Hopefully that'll all tie in together. The only regarding that, and I was gonna mention to you tomorrow. Next Wednesday is recycling in the north, and that will be as scheduled. I know there's a notice out to pave, but I'm pushing the paving back to Thursday and Friday. Because Johnson Roberts, if that, we can't disrupt service, so. Any recycling in the north will be as scheduled.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
From some residents, they were,
Yes.
kind of taken aback, seeing that their street was being paved. Is there
Okay.
a way of communicating the streets that are going to be paved, when they're going to be paved?
Like they would-
Give notice?
No, it's not, like you totally didn't know what was happening, is that,
No idea.
I mean,
I don't know.
respectfully-
What is your method of communicating to the public that their streets are going to be?
Look out the window.
I mean.
No, actually, that's not.
It's- it's-
Every one of those construction meetings goes to the utilities advice, but residents receive a notice, whether written, email. Unfortunately, I've seen it on my own street. people don't always come in the front door, they
Mhm.
miss the notice, but they are notified. It's part of
They
the
are.
process that the engineers.
I know they are. Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, that's
Sure.
only the people that are living on the street. Other people use
Well,
those
where do you want
streets.
them to live?
So it could be useful if these notices.
Right.
In advance will be published on the website. and
Okay.
Sent out to the town. So that person that might be going down Van Nordstrom every day.
Right.
And always just spots into work on the right time,
Mhm.
knows, and someone on Charlotte, someone somewhere else could be commuted. I think it's something that should be town-wide.
Okay, we can do that.
That.
The next, yeah, I mean, this work comes out earlier enough in the year where I think we can get.
Hello?
Pending budgets, but yeah,
Plus, the public will get an opportunity to see that their money is going
To be-
their districts are being
Sure.
paid. Thank you.
okay. That's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Neville, appreciate it. Chief Hankelman.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everybody. My report is pretty brief. I'm sure many of you are aware of the accident on Sylvan Avenue on July 23rd. It was a horrific and tragic accident that we responded to. Unfortunately, there was one fatality. For those of you who were aware of it and reached out to me to check on the officers, I appreciate your concern. The officers are doing fine after that traumatic incident. And I'd like to recognize the fire department, Chief Nikow and Assistant Chief Nikow. My officer said tremendous things about you and your firefighters that evening. You were a tremendous help, and I commend you for your efforts. Thank you. I met with the Public Safety Committee on July 26th. They were looking for some recommendations and some information to disseminate to residents regarding ways to protect their homes and their vehicles. I conveyed some of my ideas to them, and I guess that information will be forthcoming. The DPW super mentioned a lot of the traffic and construction projects in town, DNL, the substation, and PS high pressure. Those are all ongoing. We're doing our best to staff them, but there's so much utility work going on in town. You will see surrounding towns, Closter, Tenafly, Englewood, PIP assisting us because we can't staff them all. So couple community related notices I'd like to make. I'd like to recognize two of my officers, Officer O'Shea and Officer Regan. I'm not sure if any of you saw a post that was made on Facebook by one of our residents. It talked about what they did for a homeless gentleman. If you'll indulge me, I have that post if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Today, driving on 9W in Angler Cliffs, I came upon a homeless man. He was alone, scared, and appeared to suffer from some type of mental illness. I brought some food and some clean clothes back to the scene, and when I arrived, I met with two Englewood Cliffs finest, Officer Daniel O'Shea and Officer Nick Regan. You can see the gentleman was scared, thinking he was in some type of trouble and in danger of being arrested. These two fine officers handled this like two amazing, caring, compassionate officers. They calmed the homeless person down and spoke to him as a person, not a nuisance that they had to deal with. It took some convincing, but officers convinced the gentleman, who said his name was Jake, to go to the hospital and get checked out. Officer O'Shea even offered to give the homeless man an extra pair of boots as his sneakers were torn and bound with tape. So proud of Englewood Cliffs finest. Well done, gentlemen. And of course, it got a lot of reaction on social media, so. Another one, Officer Chu and Officer Cora. Officer Cora is one of our newest officers. He's being trained, and they found a young boy, 10 or 12 years old. He was playing basketball by himself on Geraldine Court, and the two officers took some time out of their day to get out of the car and play some ball with him. And The young man just thought it was the greatest thing ever. So I'd like to recognize them as well. Yeah.
That's nice.
Finally, I'm happy to announce a new community outreach initiative. We're calling it Cone with a Cop. If any of you are familiar with Coffee with a Cop, it's been around for a long time. This is something new. We've never done it before. And it'll consist of a tour of headquarters, all of our facilities. We have a couple giveaways for the residents, and we'll finish it up with ice cream that has been donated by Unilever, and that'll take place next Tuesday between 3 and 5. And I invite all of you to join us and meet and greet the officers and some of the residents who turn out.
3 to 5, Chief?
3 to 5, yes, sir, on Tuesday. And the final thing is the accreditation program director is scheduled to attend next month's meeting to present us with our accreditation certificate.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Chief, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Are any emergency lines fixed?
911?
Yeah.
Not yet. We are very close and we're very close, and I'm going to say tentatively scheduled for Monday.
Okay, only because I see on the bill list that we still pay for emergency phone lines, and I don't know why. It's almost $1,000 this month.
Yeah.
And if it's not working.
Those bills I don't think are actually being paid. They may be getting sent.
I'm just saying, it's on my bill list, and I'm gonna ask our administrator, please look into this. Please get a refund from whatever date that we've been paying this, work with our CFO, please.
All the people that have been involved with that have led to Monday at 10 a.m. going live. At the same time, they have a list of every bill that will be credited back to us once we go
Just
live.
wanted to be sure.
As well
I
as-
just saw it tonight.
That's okay.
As well as the credits that we'll be getting for the 5 pump station lines that also are not active. And 2 of the 5 are backup. One of the 5 that have a problem with equipment that's been ordered, so that should go back up shortly, the 2 and 5. And the others are scheduled for this week. So
Thank you
pump
very much.
stations. will be back.
Today. Thank you.
Okay, next, do we have any other department heads? Bernie, you're here as our municipal engineer. Hold on.
Why don't we release the 2?
Yeah, of course, they could always leave. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Bertie, if you want to go to the microphone up here. If you need me to, my wife complains that I talk loud all the time. So I just wanted to indicate, Mayor had asked about a construction report. I will say that we're working closely with the construction department. There are many beautiful new homes going up, and we're doing CO inspections throughout the borough. Also, we're working closely with the DPW and the borough administration on everything else, road programs and the like. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bernie. Yes, Bernie. Yeah. Sure, you want a motion? Okay, okay.
My first motion is to dissolve the Affordable Housing Committee. The entire council responsible for any affordable housing decisions. I think that's very important that all council people are included in that.
Can you make a governing body? So it's council and mayor? Okay.
Mayor and council.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction. So my motion is to dissolve the Affordable Housing Committee.
Second.
We have a second. All right, we do have a second. Any discussion? I support this, by the way, because I think it's just been operating in closed rooms, back alleys, and we have no idea what they're doing, which is what they want. And after all, again, this is the unholy alliance of state politicians, judges, developers, and your money, okay?
This is not the first affordable housing committee. Okay? Their administration, the prior administration had an affordable housing committee that never communicated one thing to Councilman Di Gregorio or myself, never involved, never, as much as we requested information, we never got information. Prior Affordable Housing Committee, the prior Affordable Housing Committee, they actually went out and civilian who wasn't even an elected official, and I believe as the mayor said, not even a citizen, was the one that was doing negotiations.
Yeah.
Negotiations over our legal bills.
I want to get rid of them all. That one and this one.
Right?
No, I want to get rid of them all. Yeah.
So the only reason why is because we brought back a team that has been doing a fabulous job with 800 children, with our own affordable housing. They've been doing, I think we've had more progress in the last 6 months than we've had in the last 4 years. In the last 4 years, all it was is to delay, and it's gonna cost all of us right here millions of dollars. Millions of dollars it's gonna cost us.
So that's
next year, when the budget has to go up, I'm just letting you know. We're gonna, we want to reduce the budget this year. In the future, it's gonna be a problem. So the reason why we did this Affordable Housing Committee, and all the lies that they tell you, every single communication that the mayor has had more meetings with the affordable housing attorneys.
That's not true.
than the affordable housing.
Well, that's not true. You passed a resolution. No. Don't lie to these nice people. You passed a resolution saying that I'm not allowed to talk to the attorneys. You're a complete fool and liar. Yeah, absolutely. No.
You haven't talked to
No, I haven't talked to them. Only when they come here. They're not here. In between meetings. Look, folks, the time to do work is in between meetings, not after. What they tell us and what they don't tell us. I'm against this. You guys are the elected for the town. Don't delegate to committees and to your friends. And
The Affordable Housing Committee, except for one time that I got an email that I wasn't home, and I think it came at 5 o'clock on Friday, that there was like a delay of a half a day. Every communication that I get from the Affordable Housing Committee is passed on.
Committee's
to
gone.
Every single council member.
It's gone.
And the mayor. You can Oprah it. You know, the mayor said, Oprah it.
Your committee's
See,
gone.
Every
That's
single,
more reason
do I have the floor? See, there's a double standard.
You've had enough of the floor. You're repeating yourself now.
It doesn't matter. I can repeat.
No. I bring discussion to an end.
You don't bring discussion to an end. So the reason why we had the Affordable Housing Committee is to attempt, see the way the mayor treats us, right? The mayor treats the attorneys even worse, okay? Just Oprah the mayor's emails that he sends to the council members and how petulant and derogatory, misogynistic it is to the females.
No, that's not true. That's not true. You're making up stories. Do not accuse me of those things. You are the worst. And we have tape to show how bad your mouth is, okay? All right, enough.
So the reason why
Enough.
we have is to prevent the mayor from
Enough.
harassing the attorney.
Here's what they don't want you to know.
One day, Tim Katrubis, the mayor.
All right, I've had enough of you.
Us $10,000.
I've had enough of you. Listen.
With the attorney.
Okay, listen, here's the way affordable housing works, and he's the supporter of affordable housing. You have a $2 million, stop. You have a $2 million house, okay? The state of New Jersey says, well, that's a very nice house. And you know what? The $102 million houses around your house are very nice houses. But what we're going to do is we're going to feel sorry for people who can't live in your town. Even though you welcome everybody, and Englewood Cliffs is aspirational, and God knows I didn't grow up here, I worked my way here, okay? But what we're going to do is, because we have to coddle everybody, we're going to take some of the value of all your homes, all your parents' homes, and your future children's homes, and we're going to allocate that to people who can't afford to live here. And by the way, there's no infrastructure for these people. There's no public transportation. There's no supermarkets. What do you do? There's no jobs here, right? There's no jobs here. So what the state of New Jersey said is we're going to keep 72 towns in Bergen County because we want 72 towns to suffer. So no matter how hard you immigrants work, you law students, you college students work to come here, we're going to take away value from your home because here's how we're going to do it. We're going to let these developers build. We're going to let them build homes. And 20% of the homes they build, poof, they go to other people who can't afford to be here, and we're going to give it to them. And you're all going to pay for those. And how are you going to pay for those? Your taxes are going to go up. You're gonna pay for those. And this is what Mr. Luciano is a proponent of, Ms. Simon is a proponent of, and Mr. Kim is a proponent of.
It's the law.
The law, yes, it is the law. And I always said you have to follow the law, and we do follow the law, but you need to change the law. The law doesn't work because it's not sustainable. Because what's going to happen is Englewood Cliffs will have quadruple the taxes in 5 years that it has today. Okay, you'll be Montclair, you'll be Ridgewood. You get no services, but you get taxed. Okay, your schools will be terrible. Okay,
Tell them that's not true.
mark my word. Okay,
Mark my words, that the millions that it's gonna cost us for the prior administration delaying.
we've cut taxes every year.
Information next year or the year after, when it finally does shake out, that they do pull off the lawsuit that they have, you're gonna see, and then you can talk about the tax increase, and right now, you'll be surprised, look how many houses, everybody's so afraid, they're building so many new houses in Englewood Cliffs, and they're selling for even more than what.
Okay, so hold on.
So
So I talked about the 20% that gets given away, but then because the developer, stop. The developer got to build 80% market-based units. Guess what? They make a lot of money, and guess what they do with the money? They give some to people's campaigns like Luciano, other politicians who keep the whole sham going. They appoint the judges who keep the whole sham going. That's all that happens. And so what we have here is a reallocation of your home value.
Where's your proof, man? Where's your proof?
Yes.
The Constitution of New Jersey is nothing.
It needs to be changed.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It needs to be changed. No one's willing to fight it.
Your law firm isn't fighting this.
As a council, we have a choice. We can look back and accuse a lot of people, maybe a lot of this. However.
Please, he has the floor.
Excuse me, Council
Can
President.
you be respectful?
I am respectful.
You're interrupting him.
Yeah, it's Demented David has the floor, Mr. Luciano.
I'm glad you identified yourself.
So why don't we,
A lot of defamation tonight, a lot of defamation.
I would say.
You're all public figures.
I would
Will
say-
you let him speak?
Say very firmly and kindly that I think everyone needs to exercise an amount of maturity if we're gonna be sitting up here on this council, period. All of us, including me. Now, I do think that that there has been a lot of mistakes in the past, but if we are going to be going at each other. We have to together move Englewood Cliffs into the future. A lot of ships have left the port, we can't do anything about it. Englewood Cliffs has been rendered with certain responsibilities that we have to live up to. So we might as well, woman up, man up, whatever you want to call it, and get it done. A lot of towns got a lot worse than we did. And we have developments that are not in the residential area. So let's work together. I think that the tone has to just be subside. And I think by dissolving the committee, you're gonna have an opportunity of working together
Okay,
to move forward.
so there's a motion and a second. Could I vote, please? This is to disband. There was a second. Pay attention. Let's have a roll call vote. Let's have a roll call vote.
Member Valori,
Yes, to dissolving the committee.
yes.
I would,
Hold on.
Can I, Mr. Mayor, may I
Yes,
say,
go.
may I say something? My
Go
reason-
go ahead.
Hold on, you didn't let me speak.
No, hold on. I don't see her. She's not on screen. So go ahead, Ms. Valari.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, what I wanted to say is that the residents of this town, they listen to these meetings and they really don't understand what truly happened in the history of this, is that we were working to create a good affordable housing situation here in Englewood Cliffs. But it was when the Democrats had the majority that that's when the what hit the fan, and anything is up for grabs. And I wish that more people would understand that some of those members that voted for it sold their homes and moved away. And you have to wonder, why would they do that if they love this town so much and they cared enough to be on a council? And on another note, I would like to mention that I'd like to know who got to Dr. Aversa to send out that vicious letter to put out our cell numbers to to call us and complain to us. Shame on you. What you should have sent out is, people of the town, come and look at the budget, work with us. And by the way, Mr. Luciano, before you interrupt me, okay? Misogynist, you are the worst sitting up there. You have the audacity to be disrespectful to me meeting after meeting. And I just want to say to you that you are a misogynist. Thank you.
So for the record, Aversa did spell his own name wrong twice in that letter, but.
Well, he's busy being a dentist.
Floor to dissolve the affordable housing.
Okay, next vote.
Member Katrubis,
You're not allowed to talk, but. Maria-
Yes, please.
Yes.
Member Kim,
No.
Vice President Luciano.
No.
Member Simon.
No.
Member Di Gregorio.
Yes, dissolve it.
Oh, it's a tie. I'll break the tie. Yes, we're dissolving it. And you know, Ms. Stern, please advise all the attorneys, all the professionals, that all communications have to be copied to the entire governing body without fail. All right,
I'd
thank
like
you.
to make a motion to dissolve all committees.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to dissolve all committees.
Like, what are you doing?
But don't you
What
understand?
are you doing? All right, is anybody seconding his silly motion, his knee-jerk reaction? No, okay, fine. All right, let's move on. Let's be serious, elected officials, and not Mr. Luciano, elected officials. All right, approval, oh, you said you had two motions, Mr. Di Gregorio.
Motion, but I'm just looking at from the fire department.
Later, shortly. We're on number 8, and that's number 10.
Discussion, okay,
Yeah.
so I'll make my second motion is to remove the indemnification for all attorneys.
Okay. Do I have a second? This is to remove
Second.
indemnification of attorney, which is against public policy. It's probably unlawful to begin with.
Second,
That.
All right, can we roll call?
Member Valari.
no discussion?
You want discussion? I'm sorry.
Make a
Go
motion to
ahead.
table.
We can have discussion.
Second.
There's a motion to table which takes precedence.
I'm sorry, I thought we were voting on this.
We were, but then there's a motion to table.
Mayor didn't follow.
Hold on a second, Mr. Marinello, could there be a motion to table once we start voting?
I don't think so.
We did. All right. All right, this is a motion to table. I recommend you do not table this motion.
Hint, hint.
Go ahead. Luciano, Simon, they go together. If it's not one person's bad idea, it's the other one's.
Member Valari.
No to tabling.
Member Katrubis.
No to tabling. I'm curious to see how the officer of the court who sits on the council is going to vote on this one.
Member Kim.
Here we go.
Call him.
Abstain.
Of course he does.
President Luciano.
You abstain on table?
Abstain on.
Council President Luciano.
No, I mean, yes, to table, I'm sorry.
Member Simon.
Yes.
Member Di Gregorio.
No to table.
Okay, let's go back to the vote. No interruptions, please. So the vote now is to terminate the indemnification of attorneys.
Member Valari.
Yes.
Member Katrubis.
Yes,
Member Kim.
No.
Council President Luciano.
No.
Member Simon.
No.
Member Di Gregorio.
Yes.
All right, it's a tie. I'll break the tie. Yes, we're going to remove indemnification retroactively.
It's not, they have a contract. So they're not retroactive.
It's actually not part.
I know, but the mayor's
All right.
gonna be up all over this.
The whole notion of indemnifying professionals for their own professional judgments is just anathemic to public policy.
They're not
Right?
indemnified against malpractice. It's only about the frivolous lawsuits that have been filed against our attorneys by.
If they did their jobs, all right. All right, what's up next?
Majority-
So the next up on the agenda, you don't have the floor. You don't have the floor. Approval of minutes, these are the May 22nd, 2023 special meeting, May 26th, 2023 special meeting, June 14th, 2023 regular meeting, June 29th, 2023 special meeting, July 12th, 2023 closed session, and July 17th, 2023 special meeting. Okay, there's been a motion has been made by Mr. Di Gregorio. There's a second. Is to approve the minutes. That's what I said. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, what are we voting on? Because you were all garbled.
Approval of the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's better if I stand back here. Is there a second? I need a second to approve the minutes, please.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a second. Go roll call.
Member Valari,
I abstain.
Member Katrubis,
Abstain.
Member Kim,
Yes.
Councilor Luciano, Member Simon,
Yes.
Member Di Gregorio.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. They passed. Can I have a motion to open for public comment, please?
So moved.
Got a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so if you're a member of the public and you wish to be heard, please raise your hand. And let me recognize you and then come up and just state your name, address, and whatever you want to talk about. Yes.
No, we don't have. We don't have that, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, hi.
Hi, my name is Anatia Ron. I live in 28 Dillingham Place.
Can't hear you, sorry.
I thought this microphone is not, okay.
Oh, yes, yeah.
They make believe it works, but it doesn't work.
Okay, I live in Dillingham Place. And in the past, I would say a few months, I have a problem with the restaurant Lifki's. It turned out to be a nightclub and the music is really, really loud. And what's going on? I'm calling the police. The police are making them make it lower a little bit. 5 minutes later, they turn the volume back on. The party goes on until like 1:30 in the morning. So I think, in my opinion, oh, it's working. Oh, I will. So in my opinion, I think that the way the police works, they need something to follow, because when I call the police, some of them are saying they send some officers and it's not too loud. Some officers say, I'll take care of it right away, and they shut it down. So there's nothing set. And I feel that I call the police all the time and they have something better to do than shut off music of a restaurant. I don't want to call them every weekend. I'll call you. You'll come to my house and hear how loud it is. Yeah. Oh, you're going there. Well, stop the music. So it's a problem. It's a huge problem, but it's a nightclub. Maybe I understand it's the zoning, but mine, it's not commercial. I'm in a residential next to 9W, but still residential.
Can I, from my understanding, I mean, I think it's on our radar, to be honest, and I think part of the problem is, that's been addressed to me, is that because the governor is still have part of our COVID.
I'm not saying anything.
Part of the COVID protocols that he put in place that allowed outdoor eating. Certain people are taking advantage of that, which hampers our construction code officials, which hampers our fire enforcement code officials, and hampers the police. So until, unfortunately, the governor decides to do away with a lot of this, epidemic issues that he permitted, like the outside eating, the outside tent, all that stuff is hampering it. But believe me, we're well aware of the issue, and I agree with you, and we are looking to see what can be done.
But
I
this,
agree with you. It
this is not outside eating. I'm sorry, though. This is not outside eating. This is a club. This is loud music with a DJ.
We actually, the resident and I met about this, and we did make some progress, and now it's gone back. And I know the police chief is aware of it.
The chief is aware.
But the chief has nothing, he can't do anything, because all he can do is send his officers to check it out.
Okay, so we asked the borough attorney, are we able to do anything as a governing body?
I'm actually just looking at your noise ordinance now. This is the first time I've heard about this, although I do have seen in other towns the same problem due to the COVID and outdoor dining.
But I'm sorry, again, I'm not talking about, it's loud noise, it's
Yes, we
not just
understand, but
noise.
Unfortunately, it still falls under that outdoor, even though, yes, I agree.
It's a
there's not
party, it's a
outdoor dining.
club,
I agree.
it's huge.
So what happened was, when the outdoor dining was allowed, that suspended the ability of the town to restrict the outdoor area. So we, until that emergency order is over, which I'm not sure exactly when that was, because it was extended. They don't have to come to us to be allowed to have that outdoor area. So now the question becomes, what are they doing with the outdoor area? And what can we do to restrict the sound? This is the first time I'm hearing about this, but I will look at the noise ordinances that we have, because we do have some in place.
Mr. Marinello, is it 11 PM cutoff? for noise?
From what I'm
Or
looking at,
10?
it looks like it's 10.
10.
All right.
So,
Yes. And they saw the party at 10 o'clock.
Mayor Kranjak?
Yeah, let me just finish for 1 minute. There is a decibel limit after 10 PM. I don't know whether the borough owns equipment to measure that or not, but that is something that, there are portable decibel level readers that you can get to.
The county health department.
Can you borrow one?
have the equipment
Yeah.
they can lower.
Can you borrow one? Yeah, just,
One more thing to add, I'm sorry, I forget.
our Board of Health officer has.
Sometimes when the officers are going to, the best of my knowledge, across the street by the gas station, it's not as loud as you hear it by my house. So somehow how it bounces off whatever walls or whatever. If you stand at my door, you hear it very loud compared if you stand somewhere else on the road.
I get
That's
that.
how sound travels.
And the temporary or the portable would allow them to check that sound level at different places and see if they're in violation of the ordinance.
So can you order something so the police can follow the rule and have something based on? So when I call, they're not gonna tell me, no, I sent 2 officers and it's not too expensive.
Discuss it with the chief and we'll see what equipment, if they don't have it, but I know years ago we did have it, but I'm not sure we still have it. So-
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I know that there are other municipalities in New Jersey whereby the town actually is telling the businesses to either take in their tables or, I don't know about this, that the governor needs to do something. I think that each municipality has the ability to walk back some of these things. I believe so. I know for a fact that in at least 2 counties that I know of, it's the council that has decided what the business owners can and cannot do. So I'm not so sure that Mr. Luciano's interpretation of that it's up to the governor.
So is it also a matter of occupancy?
No, the outdoor seating allowance allows them to have greater occupancy. I mean, this was an idea that made some sense at the moment that it was put in place, but now you're 3-4 years into this, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But it is what the law says.
Did you hear that, Mr. Laurie?
Just need to look into it further.
Yeah, I don't know that, I mean, we could help this woman if we can figure out how to measure that and then enforce what ordinances we already have. So I will look into it with Ms. Stern and see if we can
All right,
figure out.
do we need to authorize, because this is going to be after hours work, does the council need to authorize someone to go and do this?
I believe the police department.
They could do it? I understand that. Will they do it?
I would ask them to do it.
All right, we're not involved in police operations, but all right, we could,
Let's find the equipment first.
we have it, our health officer has it.
Okay, so then somebody's gotta go over and then when, I don't know if it's every night over there, I'm not in town.
The weekend is out of control.
So on the weekend, somebody needs to go over there and measure it from a few different sites and see what it's at.
All right.
And is this every night for the resident? Does this happen every night?
It's mostly on the weekends. Sometimes there's something going on during the week also with the DJ and loud music, but mostly on the weekends.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll take a look at it.
So can you also look at what type of, Mr. Marinello, you guys could work together and look at, see what kind of licensing, liquor license. I mean, I don't know if they're grandfathered in under that license, just of how long that building's been there, but if it's listed as a restaurant, I don't know if they're able to have a nightclub. And to me, I agree with this young lady here that this is turned, to me, in my opinion, it's turned into a nightclub. I mean, they do serve dinner, but you go there at 9 o'clock and it's turned into a nightclub. So if we could just look at it, because I am in 100% concurrence with you that it's out of control. And like I said, I've looked into it, and what I've told until, like Mr. Marinello had mentioned, I don't know where our other council member is saying that the council is, dictating this, but that's what my understanding is. But if they could look into it and do the best that we can.
Well, I know that these places are not just restaurants, they're also halls for parties. So, maybe what needs to be looked at, it may be the outdoor partying that's causing the noise level, not the indoor partying.
But
That's what the issue is.
But still, they're next to residential areas, so it's you can't mix it together.
Okay. All right, well,
And it's never been before, so it's in the past, I guess, COVID
so
times.
Ms. Stern will follow up with you. Go ahead. Then.
I visited Refuse some months ago to see, and it's wonderful to see a thriving business. When I was inside, I could not hear myself think.
If you come to my house, you think I have a party in my kitchen, yeah.
So I think that it's not necessary. If the music were turned down to a quarter, it would be fine, and people would still have a lot of fun.
Or move down seating to the other side of the shower.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, Barney, you don't have to stay if you want to get going. I mean, I'm sorry. I should, whenever you want. But it's convenient whenever you want. Anybody else in the public wishing to be heard? Yes.
I'm Mr. Telzer, homeowner at 9 Churchill Road. I'll be sending some more information tonight, but I wanted to say something nice to each of you, because you fight a lot, and hopefully that you can agree on it. Start with the mayor. When somebody when a politician gets something done, often by the end of the term, it's forgotten. And whatever's going on with the town, it's like the memory's very short. So I just wanted to say, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for getting rid of the cancer in our town, which was Police Chief Chapu. That was not an easy thing to do. It was a wonderful thing to do, and I think everybody knows that, whether they admit it or not. So I just wanted to remind people that you took that on and you did it, and you did it well.
Thank you. I always said, if you have a job, just come to work and do your job, and you keep your job.
I, for one, am forever grateful to that. No matter what else you do, when you kick a puppy, I'm forever grateful.
My dog loves me.
Okay.
She's a rescue.
Mr. Councilman Katrubis, I only spoke to you before you were elected, and I see that you're relentless, and I think that's a really good quality. And I'm going to need help from each of you, and I want you to work together, because one thing I see is that many of you like corruption. Go about it different ways. But I've been studying all of you for a while, except Mr. Ken, and I want you to work together, and I want you to do what I'm asking you to do, because it's the right thing to do. So with Mr. Katrubis, I see he's relentless, I see he hates corruption. So I'm going to need him to accordingly. And Mr. Di Gregorio, you seem to have the ability to want to make things right in a way that works with other people. And I'm going to need you to do that too. And Ms. Laurie speaks very straightforwardly and doesn't pull any punches. That's necessary. Mr. Luciano, is that how Councilman Luciano, that's pronounced? Okay, because I had a teacher. I had a teacher who was just spelled her name exactly the same as she was listening. I see you're a very capable guy, and you know a lot of things. Okay, I'm going to need you to use that too. Miss Simon, I am told, a lot of the viewers have said, you're capable of great compassion. And I'm not saying that I haven't seen that, but a lot of people told you that I told you, I've spoken to you a couple of times in all those years, that people have noticed that about you. And Mr. Kim, the fact that you joined the council, the councilman Kim, at this late time, I think we can say you're courageous and brave.
Thank you.
So I'm going to send you some information tonight. I've already sent you information, my film, I've sent you part one. I'm going to send you a document that came from the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office. Just need you to look at it and keep that image in your mind. You're going to get more information. But what happened to me with the insurance company lawyers, I'm not speaking about with the police, it cannot go unaddressed. And I need each of you to help me. I want you to really think about what's moral and right and do the right thing. I can't let it go. And I'll finish with this one thing. One of the council people have said to me, you know, well, whatever happens, you're not going to be whole again. And the council person's right. But the idea is when something terrible happens, is you build around that hole as best you can. And that's how you heal. The hole doesn't go away, but you try to build it up. And I'm doing the right thing, and I've done the right thing for the town. And I am an example for the children and grandchildren of what it's right, of how to nicely fight back and to do the right thing. I've been nice to everybody for 11 years. And I need you to do the right thing, okay? So thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening. Anybody else from the public? Yes.
First thing, I just want to
Can you
say,
state your name and address?
oh, I'm sorry, Karen Geiger, 270 Alfred.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to say I have witnessed many, many mayor and council meetings, but this display tonight was totally disgusting. The Mickey Mouse attitude of if I don't get my way, I'm going to adjourn the meeting is unacceptable behavior. And it's disrespectful to the public who comes to watch and learn from what's going on. Also to Mr. To our senior CFO. Thank you for putting up various options on the budget. Thank you, Mr. De Gregorio, for your option, and even Mr. Kim, even though I disagreed with your option, for yours. But for the rest of you who had no options and no ability to come to any recommendation for this council other than to do nothing, it's disgraceful. I have a lot of comments on the budget, but I'll wait till the next next opportunity on that. On the Palisades, Mr. Mayor, thank you. As you all know, I've been very, very active in protection of the Palisades, and I go way back even with Mario on that. And the bill that's before the legislature is not a new bill. It's a bill that's been there for several years and has never passed. But the problem with that bill is exactly what the mayor pointed out, and that it ignores the Virgin Palisades north of Fort Lee. And these are the Palisades that we have a duty to protect. It's the Palisades that I got involved with the LG issue to protect. And I think we have a responsibility as a council, and I would suggest that this council pass a resolution urging the modification or the defeat of this bill, because having people south of Fort Lee, including Fort Lee, deal with the Palisades and not to deal with the very issue that brought us to loggerheads and which actually resulted in potential legislation and which kept our 35 feet rule in place here and is treasured by Alpine and Tenafly is a very important thing. And I will do what I can to make people aware of this. And I think you as a council should do something as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing it up. As far as the $2,000 a day on Oprahs, I don't care who is putting in these requests. We have an obligation under the law affirmed by the Supreme Court that to answer Oprahs in a timely manner, which means 7 business days from the day in which it's received. That is not a procedure that's routinely followed in this borough, and it's resulted now in penalties. These penalties date back to Oprahs that are over a year old. Actually, they're 2 years old. And it's unacceptable as a resident to know that we are wasting all this money because no one is supervising from the borough, to my knowledge. You have delegated this to an attorney and her law firm instead of a borough person being on top of it and making sure this is responded to in a timely manner. I sat on the telephone calls with the judge, I heard it, and I can't believe it isn't resolved. That's not good governing. As far as the budget, Mr. Kim, the split between the corporate and the residential used to be 60-40 in the Parisi days. It no longer is. It's closer to 50-50 at this point, as I recall. Even now with the more expensive homes being built in the town, it's actually exceeded. I think the residential at this point is higher. That may have changed but it's fairly close to that. And I'm sure the CFO can get the actual figures. But irrespective, I really don't understand at all what you were trying to say about the residents being robbed and the budget and the money not going. It made no sense whatsoever. The way in which we pay taxes and the way in which is based on our assessed value of our home. We have an assessment, corporate has an assessment, and that assessment is multiplied by the tax rate to give them their tax bill. It's very simple. So when you cut the budget, when you cut how much you're raising municipal taxes by, you affect everybody equally based on their assessed valuation of their home. So a home, obviously, that's at 1 million, 1.3 million has one impact. That's your average home. A home that's at 10 million, if there is such a thing, would have a different impact. And a corporation at 50 million would have a different impact. But we all pay based on our assessed valuation, and it's the same.
That's
correct. The same. So nobody's
The
cheating
rate is the
when you-
same, but the assessments are different.
No, the assessments are not.
The value of the
different.
property lots are
The
different from home
property,
to home.
your property has an assessment. That assessment determines your taxes.
Correct.
That tax is determined by the amount you have to raise in taxes per the budget. It's very simple. It's equal treatment to everyone. Anyway.
It's not equal
It
treatment.
is equal
It's
treatment.
not,
I'm not
Karen.
going to argue with you. You're wrong. That's the basic way in
Because
which.
corporations are not human beings. If we're out here to protect the human being residents
You are
of this,
here to protect our community.
Right.
And that involves our corporate tax base, which we have to preserve, and our residents. But anyway, let's move on. As far as the items on the agenda itself, I have a comment about the resolution appointing the utilities accounts payable clerk. For many years, we heard Mrs. O'Shea complain about the fact that residents were being given stipends all the time, but they still work the same hours. I agree with her. It's wrong. When you have a person in a job that they work here from certain designated hours, and those hours they have to do whatever they're given to do. If you're telling me you're giving extra work to an individual and their hours are going to increase, then fine, you can pay them more for it. But if they're working the same workday, it's up to the borough to decide what they do in that workday. And I haven't heard any discussion about setting up utilities clerks positions. Excuse me, no, I'm not asking for your comment. I'm making my comment now. I heard your comment about it before, Mr. Luciano. I'd like to know, you've answered who did it in the past. It's the same individual, same hours, no change. I'm sorry, I am against giving raises like that. And I would point this council out that Miss Duffy was paid $11,000 more to do the job of borough administrator. 11,000, and that's the amount we want to add. It's a 25% increase to this individual's salary. I'm sorry, if you want to give somebody an increase, be upfront about it and do it uniformly across the borough to everyone who deserves it, and not dealing with new positions that suddenly get created. And as far as the salary ordinance.
I agree.
Salary ordinance. I'm shocked. Again, this seems to be a shocking meeting for me. But there was a salary ordinance that was just approved on the June 14th meeting. There was a salary ordinance that preceded that, I believe, in April. Now we have a new one. And all of a sudden, we have minimums and maximums. And the maximums are outrageous, in my opinion, for this community. All of a sudden, we have a borough administrator up to $125,000. I'm just picking them off. A deputy registrar getting stipends, I guess, for $2,500. I could just go through them. The police chief all of a sudden is up to $260 as a max. The DPW superintendent up to $150. Where are these salaries coming from? Is this what you expect us to condone as taxpayers with the budgets? What if the purpose of a salary ordinance to me as a resident was that I could look at it and say, okay, this is what I expect an individual in this position to be paid. And if you're now giving minimums or maximums, is this giving license to hire with those minimums and maximums and not come back to the council for adjustments because you think those maxims are appropriate? I certainly don't think so. And I think that the council should be very careful what it's approving if it seeks to go forward with this. Thank you.
We don't always agree on things, but tonight we agree on everything, Ms. Geiger. And hold on. Your points are well taken. Just going back to the cliffs, I'm going to ask the council to introduce a motion to basically have a motion to petition the Assembly and Senate of the state of New Jersey to protect the Palisades Cliffs and Inglewood Cliffs. And there's probably more that we should add to it. And well, to protect the cliffs and also the view shed, right? What's behind the cliffs. So I'm going to ask for that motion, and then we could develop it further at some point in the future, because I think there should be more. And then we should actually have an action plan, because listen, if you leave it up to them, they're going to wreck your cliffs. Just look at Jersey City, Hoboken, Edgewater, Fort Lee. I mean, when I read that, I thought it was a joke, because I talked to Katie Sobko about it, the reporter from the Voting Record. I said, Katie, this is a good thing for you to write about. And she said, yeah, we're going to write more about it. We're going to write more about it. And I said, no, you're not. You know why you're not going to do it? Because the Bergen Record, just like the Star Ledger, Kelly at the Record, Moran at the Ledger. Katie, you want to be a good journalist, but they're not letting you be a good journalist. They're telling you to kill these stories because there's too much money involved, And just as God made Little Green Apples, no other story appeared regarding, Englewood Cliffs. I told her, so we need to have articles like this about Englewood Cliffs, Tenafly Alpine. And again, look, I'm not a tree hugger, but it makes sense to protect the environment that we're in. I mean, it took 100 million years or more to have these cliffs made, and then some developers going to wreck them. I mean, don't forget that at the turn of the last century, the reason why these cliffs were protected, and I see we have some young people here, so a little history lesson. And I appreciate you being here. A little history lesson. The women's suffragette movement was upset that the cliffs were being quarried out. And at the same time, Rockefeller was bringing in the Cloisters Museum brick by brick from Europe, right across the river, and he wanted to preserve the view shed as well. So they basically got together to preserve the view shed. He said, no problem. I'll just buy all the land up the Palisades and make it into a park, which is great. And that's what you have there, Palisades Interstate Park. They never envisioned that people would actually try to build high rises well, 200 or 300 yards behind the cliffs that would mar the view shed. So that's what we're trying to protect.
Mayor, can I just turn on that one extra?
Okay.
I know that you want to make that motion, but I would suggest that unless the legislation is changed, it was a very misnamed legislation. It was called the Palisades Protection Act, but it actually did nothing to protect the Palisades. It is a effort to protect the view from the top of the Palisades of New York City. That's why that legislation hasn't gone anywhere. The legislation prevented and took away home rule of the towns that were below the Palisades and created a commission to determine whether or not certain construction could go on in those towns below the Palisades, which might take away from the view of the people at the top of the Palisades. So while it's called the Palisades Protection Act, and I agree with you that whatever should be done to protect the Palisades in this community is a good idea, I would just say before we sign on a motion to say, let's include Englewood Cliffs into that thing, I think it should.
No, I wouldn't include it in that. I want our own. I believe me, I don't want to be part of Hudson County cabal, believe me. We have enough of them living here.
What I'm saying is just that we could certainly look into doing our own protection ordinance. You have a zoning ordinance, and that's basically in place.
Right, but the problem is, what's going to happen is the state's going to come in and say, you know what? You should build a 20-story affordable housing unit right there. Who cares? Because that's what's going to happen. Affordable housing always wins in New Jersey.
All I'm saying, Mayor, you and I have more in common on that position than you think. But the bottom line is, I just want you to know that legislation is not the answer for this town.
No, absolutely not. We would have our own. Yeah.
It's not.
No.
It needs something different.
No. I have no intentions of linking us with them. Believe me. I mean, we'd be a small voice with these people. They wouldn't care. Yeah.
Well, I guess, is there anybody else?
Anybody else from the public wishing to be heard? Mrs. O'Shea, I see your hands up virtually. You could unmute yourself. State your name and address, please. Mrs. O'Shea, you could unmute yourself. I don't think she could hear.
Yes, Mayor, I have to say, I haven't been at one of these meetings in a long time. And after sitting through this for 2 hours, I understand why, because I cannot understand a word that's being said. It's garbled. I swear you have the microphone sabotage that I couldn't hear a word the mayor said. I heard a little bit from David. I heard a lot from Luciano and nothing from anybody else. Everything is totally garbled. I couldn't hear what was being said. The residents that were speaking, I couldn't hear what they were saying, commenting. I don't know, earlier this year, you had talked about getting this microphone system with the Zoom fixed so that it would be working properly. This is a disgrace. This is a disgrace. You might as well not call it community participation because you cannot understand it. And I think you each should sit and listen. I don't know if what Laura records the same way that we're seeing it, but go and listen to it for 2 hours. It's torture, just torture, because you can't understand it, all right? So that being said, I wanted to commend, I think that you should keep the police chief and the DPW superintendent in the room until after public comments, whether you have to move it up further on the agenda, because I wanted to compliment the DPW superintendent and the crew. Mark Neville got his crew very organized and cleaned up the property of the Senior Citizen Center. It was totally overgrown, bushes, broken fences. Was a disgrace, and it was a total disgrace. And they cleaned it up and they got it all done. That we did have a very successful barbecue last Sunday. But they worked very hard at it, and I really wanted to compliment them. Also, the police chief came with one of the detectives to our July meeting and spoke about fraud, bank fraud, and personal fraud and cause theft and different things to try to make the seniors more aware of their own safety and to protect their property. Okay, so I really want to acknowledge both of them for that. Regarding the resolution, I've been very steadfast in a couple of things that I always speak about. Number one, I don't believe buildings should have people's names on them. I believe buildings belong to the public and they don't need to be memorialized for past people, because the people that come into town don't know who they are and aren't interested. Number two, I also do not believe that one person that works for the borough should have two paying jobs that overlap. I've said that before. I've said it with Lizette Duffy when she was a clerk and administrator. I said it with Kathy Scancarello when she's DPW, building department and planning board and I don't know, two other things. I said it with Rosemary Weber when she was a secretary for the Board of Health. And then she became something. Oh, she was the administrator assistant. Okay. Got those two jobs. I think a person has one job in the hours they work. The borough can direct them to do what they need to do. If they're clerical, they can do any type of clerical function in the borough. And years ago, many people would be moved from one department to another, covering for vacations, illness, sickness. You don't have to pay somebody additional funds when they're working for the borough on those hours. They're still there. They shouldn't be paid two salaries for the one work performance, no matter what tasks they're doing. And I really feel this is a little bit of a payback for Mr. Marinuzzi helping Mrs. Simon and Mr. Kim with their election, that he was a big backer with them and a big helper with the absentee ballots. I'm out in the county with Melanie getting the ballots and to get the ballots in. And I think this is a bit of a reward for Mr. Marinuzzi to give his wife an additional $11,000 a year salary. And excuse me, and I like Fran Marinuzzi. I know her for years, and Mike Marinuzzi too. But I don't believe in this type of action. And I think you should be ashamed of yourself for doing this. Okay. And the salary ordinance that you have introduced is an abomination. It's a bag of Christmas presents for all these people that have such a high range and big increases in the salaries. You are not protecting the taxpayers by doing this, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, the optics are not good. Anybody else from the public wishing to be heard? Just raise your hand. Is there anybody virtual?
I make a motion to close the meeting to the public.
Mrs. O'Shea, can you hear me? Can you hear me? This is Dave DiGregorio.
Yes, David, I can hear you now.
Okay, I did the best I could to piece this whole system together with a soldering iron and everything else to try to get this working as best as it can. There is a company that's going to be coming in to install certain things in the next few weeks, we hope, and audio is probably the most important. I agree with you. And I'll be consulting with as being on the technology committee. I'll consult with the borough administrator. We will get a quote to redo the audio also. I think we're doing it in a very prudent way, not breaking the bank, doing things step by step. So stay tuned. Hopefully the audio will have an improvement. We're working with equipment that's probably 20, 25 years old.
I know, but David, I couldn't hear anything the mayor said tonight. He was totally garbled.
Well,
and I couldn't hear Chris Kim.
I was actually critical of the mayor, and he was actually responding very well. I said, don't speak so close to the microphone.
I think you sabotaged him, David.
No, he gets very emotional at times.
Well, I think we should just borrow the sound system from Lefties.
No more than Dave, no more than Glenn Luciano.
I think everybody should just attend meetings.
And Glenn, the other thing, you
With a DJ.
linked me in there with lawsuits. I haven't filed an Oprah all this year. So, please drop my name from your vocabulary. Okay, I did not put in any Oprahs this year. Okay, wave your hands. I'll wave to you back too.
Thank you so much for that.
And is anybody else, hold on, let me just check. Is anybody else virtually? No, okay. Thank you. Motion to close.
Second.
All right, all in favor of closing to the public?
I,
Anyone opposed?
Please be recognized.
Yes, go ahead. Let's point
Yeah,
that
I
out.
wasn't clear on what I was talking about with the salary increases. We didn't come up with this, okay? This is the prior to administrators that looked at all the salaries of all the employees and what work they were performing. You'd shake your head no, but this is what actually took place, okay? This was a suggestion by not one administrator, but two, okay? And the person that it is that we mentioned, Ms. Marinuzzi, okay? They said that she was performing these duties and didn't get compensated for it. Where other people, at the end of the last administration, they passed through a $20,000 raise to one employee that was retroed back to January. No one said anything, not one word. I said something, what are we doing, okay? And I know other people had as well, and before that, another person, again, has significant increase and retro all the way back to January. So the administrator, not the council, said, this is their recommendation to bring this employee up to what they should be fairly compensated for the work that they are presently doing. Not additional work, not additional hours, but work that they're doing and not being compensated for. That's all we're trying to do and it's not even, this is a recommendation by the administrator.
Okay.
And Glenn, those people aren't here anymore.
Please mute her because.
I think you're repeating yourself. No, she should be muted and you should be muted at this point too.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Solari.
Repeating myself, but.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Valari with.
Go ahead, Ms. Solari.
Mr. Luciano, I've been hearing you talking nonstop. Can somebody else get a word in edgewise? Thank you. Mr. Mayor, the fact is, if I'm an administrator and I have time to do something on another project, does that mean that I deserve two different paychecks for doing two different jobs? It just makes sense. If she couldn't do it, then they should have hired somebody to take care of that. But obviously there was time during the day. I'm sure she's not staying overtime, I'm sure. And this is nothing against Ms. Marinuzzi. I'm a little bit experienced with that because I did work at Borough Hall as the Board of Health secretary. And I did things that went above and beyond. I stayed till 9 o'clock at night sometimes to take care of residents who during storms and times of danger, where everybody went home in Borough Hall, Mr. Mayor, I stayed to try to find solutions for residents, older people who were freezing in their homes. And the only people that helped me was the HARP nurses. So all I want to say is, I didn't ask for compensation for all that time that I spent. I wouldn't do that because that was my job. And if it meant that I stayed a little later, that's okay. But this seems like within the workday, if your workday is 9 to 5 and you're getting paid for 9 to 5 and you do something else during that workday, that doesn't mean you should get paid more money. Makes no sense to me.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Mr. Luciano left the dais, and as he left, he threw his chair at me, just for the record.
Do I need to get a hall pass for the bathroom?
No, but you need to not
I
hit.
apologize.
You did hit me.
I apologize. Can you put my chair over there?
All right,
Trying to take-
all right, if you're frustrated, it's just because you're a mom, okay? That's the reason why you're frustrated.
Name calling, right?
That's why, because you can't handle criticism. You throw your chair at people. Last year, you had some very unkind words about my family and my wife. You just can't control yourself, can you? And you want to run for mayor? Are you crazy? No one's gonna vote for you. All right. Had to say that, yeah, had to say that. Yes.
If I might just explain something, because there seems to be some misconception about the salary ordinance. The salary ordinance that was passed in June did not reflect the current salaries that some people were getting paid, which made it incorrect. Almost every town that I know of, there's a minimum and a maximum in a salary range, which this current one that we're dealing with is. And unfortunately, there were many contracts that were signed with ridiculous increases, which we're working on contracts now to try and reduce them. So the numbers involved that are on this one are giving the council a little bit of room, because in some cases, there are people who have as much as $10,000 or $11,000 in longevity. So in 1 year, that range that I put down on this is covering that, so that we don't need another salary ordinance every 6 months or every 4 months. It is reflective of what they're getting paid right now and what they'll be getting paid in January based on contract and based on what their longevity is. So there are no excessive amounts of money that will put into that. The ranges, for instance, if I increased one from, say, $2,500 to $3,000, gave this council the possibility, if somebody new comes along and that person who's currently doing that job doesn't want to do it for that money, they have a little wiggle room. There are no major increases in these ranges. They are giving this council the ability, if they want to. The largest ones reflect current salaries, which the June one did not. So it was incorrect. It was rushed by one of my predecessors to get it ready. Apparently, we didn't ask for the salaries that people were making. So that's what this reflects.
Okay, look, the optics just aren't good. Nobody talked to me about it before, so about the salary ranges.
Oh.
We didn't talk about it, right? I'm the mayor. I'm the senior officer of the borough, but nobody talks to me about this. So the optics are not good for the reasons that Ms. Geiger pointed out. Bad optics. Okay, well, that's the first time you heard that you're correct.
Well, the council member asked me about it, I explained it to them, because somebody questioned it.
It was a governing body. Tell everybody, it's better. We don't have to look surprised here. But the next up is council review and discussion. I wanted the fire chief to speak about the equipment needs. He had a call. When he comes back, we'll talk to him. We met with him. He's gone over what he needs. In a nutshell, it's a ladder truck. It costs $2 million.
Well,
Presumably, but we're going to find a better way to do it. I support public safety officially economically, so we're going to figure out a better way to get a new ladder truck, because our ladder truck that we have is about 30 years old. Yeah, it's going to be out of service. Next up, 2023 budget. We already talked about this, so I don't think there's anything to speak about there. Park improvements. Does anybody have an update on that? It was my recommendation because I want an update.
I would propose that we discuss at some point in the very near future, a council committee that can carry the work on from the last committee.
The park?
Park committee,
Okay.
Bipartisan, with everyone on it, and let's keep an eye out. I know there were some questions about certain fees and such and so forth, and we need to keep an eye on that. You know, as we're going to be tightening our belts, so we need to do that. So I would say that we need to maybe discuss that for the next meeting and put something in place.
Okay. That's fine. Has anything happened with the park?
Mayor, I could answer, surveys, field work has been completed, survey boundary work is being mapped out and design is commenced.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Borchers, do you want to speak to Nixon application?
You want me to say something about it?
Or, I'm still not sure who's speaking.
Lose my voice, but I know that it's recommended by.
Very hard to hear. Who is that speaking? I can't even hear.
Stern,
Yeah, Mrs. Okay, Ms. Stern, you just need to speak up a little bit because it's very difficult to hear you.
Grab your microphone.
Yes, so we're going to speak to Nixle application. The borough administrator is getting a drink. We'll give her a break.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question about the park. I know that there was a small piece of that property in the park where I think Unilever had rented it to us for like $1 a year or something to that effect. Don't quote me. What happens to that little tract of land? Is that going to be taken back?
Not that I know. Those are the tennis courts. They have the right to use them. And we're grateful that they've given us that piece of park. Look, the whole town hasn't been laid out correctly, right? The parks are too small. There's no center of town, but we're making
Right.
do whatever we can.
Okay.
I'll try. Getting
We're doing Nixle.
OEM coordinator, excuse me.
That's all right, go ahead.
The OEM coordinator has suggested that the town start using Nixle. The police chief said that if that's what the OEM coordinator is interested in having, he has no objection to it. Many towns use Nixle to
What is it?
Nixle is it's another announcement service
Communicate to the public.
that communicates to the public and gives them information about what's going on in town. You can use it for a lot of different things, but as I said, it is very popular. Other towns use it. The residents have the opportunity to use it or not. You have to sign into it. You don't just automatically get it. It may be one step past our constant contact. So, I mean, if we get more information and the council is interested, then we certainly could go with their recommendation for us to.
We have price comparison.
I'm sorry?
Price comparison?
No, not yet.
I'm
He did not do.
all for moving it. I mean, but we need to have just a price comparison to see if if
Okay.
there is an impact, if it's
Yeah.
neutral.
I'll look at the
I
money.
think I would, my suggestion,
Mr. Dino, go ahead. Did you want to?
move forward with looking into it.
Yes,
Most towns use it.
a question for borough engineer. Bernie, I know that several months ago, we were supposed to get a report
We
on
can't hear you, David. Can you
Hear
speak up?
you, David.
several months ago, we were supposed to get a report of the cameras of the sewers, the sanitary sewers. Where are we with that? Have they put the camera, inserted the cameras into the sewers yet? And do we have some video?
We had a pre-construction meeting with National Water Main. Spoke to them, they're awaiting contract from the borough and they're ready to go.
Okay. I was looking at the budget and how much we're paying Bergen County Utilities Authority. And certainly from the engineering point of view, the more information we have about the sewer system, the better. We've got a leaky system, as we all know. And we can start to seal that up in select areas where we're getting a lot of inflow during rain.
Exactly.
Can afford us, can look to have a substantial savings. So I'm really anxious for that.
Great.
Okay, and that's my question, and then.
We'll do the committee reports.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So we, several months ago, I'm the chair of the technology committee, Chris King is on the committee, and Tim Katrubis is also on the committee. We've been meeting periodically, and some of the discussion was about technology and some of the discussion was about other things, but it's healthy and it's nice to be able to communicate in a civil way to fellow council people. One of the things that is now live on an alternate URL or an alternate website is the borough's new website. We found a company, instead of paying an astronomical $50,000, we're paying $7,000. They have about 700 towns. And if people are interested, it's the same URL, and instead of .org, it's .us. Both sites are up at the same time, the old site and the new site. And that's done on purpose, so we can basically, they move the bulk of the information over. There's things that have to be moved over. We've had 3 different servers handling our video. I took the time to download the video from all the different servers and opened up an additional Zoom account, of which I will, once everything is linked, I'll turn it over, and I don't want anything to do with it anymore. Give someone in the borough.
Thank you for doing that. Well, why isn't it .gov?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Do we own .us, it's entitled to the borough, not the service?
They bought it. You have to buy it. I think Councilman Katrubis knows a lot more about this than I do. But you buy URLs, and basically this was included in the price.
Okay.
But you really should. The company that's hosting our site now was sold, and it's very difficult to get a hold of.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the borough actually owns it and not the service. Okay.
Well, they do. Well, no, you're right. The service has purchased it. So we're gonna have to, down the line, move .org over to
Right.
to this site.
But the borough should own it and should control the passwords and everything. All right.
Absolutely.
Councilman, just that you said you had multiple meetings with Councilman Kim and Councilman Katrubis.
Yes.
And I know that you keep saying to us about how we eliminated the Affordable Housing Committee because it wasn't being shared with all the council members, and I don't recall ever getting an update.
Okay. You just got the update. You just got the update. That's the update.
So we could do it at the council meeting, but in between, it's just, okay.
All right. It does not have a support.
Randy,
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Morandi, may I just say, I'm sorry, can I just
Go ahead,
ask
go
Mr.
ahead, Maria, I'm
Morandi,
sorry.
thank you. I recall that your firm was doing a study on the pipes, to assess whatever you need to do. I was wondering, was that study done or is it close to completion? I know I haven't received anything.
He just answered that question, but maybe.
You know why? Because I can't hear everything.
Well.
So the contract's out to bid, or the contract's. Yeah, okay, so that's that. Mr. Katrubis, you want to add something?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to terminate Albert Wunsch, please.
Is there a second?
Making a motion to attorney Walsh.
Is there a second?
What's the motion?
Motion to terminate Mr. Wunsch as attorney. Okay, is there a motion? Is there a second?
I will second that.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to know, Councilman, I know every time last year when I tried to terminate Anne Marie, who's cost us now $2,000 a day, every time you said, Mr. Luciano, who are you gonna replace him with? You have someone, you haven't shared anything with us. Every month you just look to fire people, but who are you gonna bring in? Who's your suggestion to bring in to replace Mr. Wunsch?
That's a very good question, Mr. Luciano. I'm glad you asked it. We're talking about the same individual who showed up into closed session, called me stupid after he.
So you're gonna hire Mr. Wunsch?
Excuse me. I'm not finished, Mr. I'm not finished, Council President, okay? We're talking about the same individual who called me stupid when I questioned a spreadsheet that he just showed up with out of thin air from multi-millions of dollars. I sent an email, right? And I asked for the genesis of where those numbers came from. I asked for who was involved in those conversations for damages for the borough. Okay, and I see you there scratching your head. You're going to continue to scratch your head because there's no answers for this. So the way I look at it and the way most professionals look at it is there's no person in the world that would tolerate that type of behavior. Yet it just goes unchecked. And at least for me, I just can't succumb to allowing an individual like this to just show up and just take advantage. I really believe that he's taken advantage. And I've said it from before, I don't believe that he brings any value. I put it all in writing. I would like anyone out there to open these emails so they can see exactly what's going on. But there is no value that this individual brings, and that's all I have to say on the matter.
Well, Council, my question was, is who are you proposing to, because that was just a good diatribe.
No one. He's just a negotiator. He's just a negotiator. No one. He's not necessary. It's not necessary to have him.
He's answering. You asked him a question.
We are in the middle of trying to resolve issues with affordable housing.
No, nobody shows up to closed session with multi-million dollars worth of spreadsheet and with zero backup. Nobody in the world does that. You know who does something like that? You know who does something like that? Somebody who I choose not to do business with. That's who.
The attorney that's now costing us $120
No, sir. No, sir.
last month, right? Because of our neglect. Yet you didn't want to fire, but now we have attorneys that are moving.
You're pivoting. You're pivoting. Stick to the topic.
Yeah, I won't pivot. Who are you gonna?
You are pivoting.
Lunch with?
You're pivoting, sir.
Who are you gonna place Mr.
Just
Lunch?
stick to the topic. Stick to the topic.
Who are you gonna replace Mr. Lunch with? That's what you want.
I just gave you my answer. He's not necessary. It is unnecessary.
You're abstaining from answering the question. Thank you very much.
Mr. No, hold on.
Yeah.
You can talk. Are you finished, sir?
Go ahead, Mr.
Finish?
Katrubis.
You can try to overpower me like you normally do in closed session. That's no problem. But I'm not going to tolerate it. Okay? So I stated my piece. He's not necessary. He's not necessary. You're nothing more than a bully yourself, Glenn. Okay, and you're proving it right now. Okay. Thank you very much.
Councilman Katrubis, you are aware.
Would you like the
that
floor?
Mr. Excuse me.
Would you like the floor?
Yeah, would you mind giving it to me?
Well,
please?
ask for it.
Okay, well, I was responding to Councilman Katrubis's comment. And that is that Mr. Wunsch has a contract with us, and we're going to be liable for that, for everything that is in his contract.
You can terminate it.
Excuse me?
You can terminate that contract. So since when do you want to have full employment of lawyers? I mean, these are people who come and go. You had no problem firing people in the past.
I didn't fire anybody.
Can we?
You terminate people.
Mr. Mayor, if I'd like the floor again when I have an opportunity.
Go ahead, you can finish. Melanie and Brandon, let me finish.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to grasp that this gentleman walked in to closed session with a spreadsheet that looked like it was put together by, I don't know, somebody who's not professional, with numbers that seem like they came out of thin air from multi-millions of dollars, with no backup, no conversations with anybody. He refused to put it on the public domain. Okay, I was the one that put it on the public domain. It's in my life, throughout my career, I've never witnessed this type of behavior. And honestly, I don't want to be anywhere near it. And I will leave it at that. Thank you.
You recognize, please?
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Luciano.
This is coming from a councilman who voted to pay an attorney that wasn't licensed in New Jersey, that didn't give us an investigation report, $100,000. That wasn't even.
You're pivoting, sir. You're pivoting, sir. You have no idea what the facts are. And if you want to debate them, I'll be more than happy to debate that topic on a separate domain. On a separate domain, I will be more than happy to debate that with you because you will lose that with them. You will lose all day long. All day long.
Mr. Luciano is just always hard bent on talking about the attorney who was hired to do an investigation. The Cadwalader, Wickersham and Taft firm did that investigation. That's what they were hired to do. They did it. They kept it at the 100,000. Then they had a motion pending pro hoc vice. Of course, affordable housing being what it was, which never happens. Judge Farrington denied the pro hoc vice motion, but they had Stone and Maganini as the New Jersey counsel to represent the borough. So, Mr. Luciano, either you refuse to understand or you're not capable of understanding, but those are the facts, okay? Yes.
Can we get a report?
We did. Okay, so there's a motion pending and let's have a vote.
Mr. Mayor, may I just say something?
Yes.
Not so much as a council person, but as a resident of this town, we had a wonderful plan for Englewood Cliffs. we had attorneys that have continued to represent our town, where once the Democrats got the majority, they did a 90-degree switch and changed all their things. And I know there's papers out there, I know they exist, where it showed that they had told us certain things about the school system and whether we could handle this amount of students. And then once the baton was changed, the same attorneys went back on what they said. And so it's, as a resident, it's a very scary situation what we have here, because who's driving this boat? It's just getting crazy. And by the way, beautification, I believe it was Mr. Marinello that said something about beautification. Beautification does not mean destroying the beauty of this town, to build more housing, to make builders richer at the expense of the residents of this town, whose taxes are going to go up, whose utilities are going to go up, and everything. Traffic will need more police, more schools, more, and this is as a resident. That's where I stand, Mr. Luciano.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Katrubis, can Mr. DiGregorio speak? He was next.
Of course.
Thank you.
First of all, I've learned that everyone has a replacement, no matter how good we think of ourselves, no matter how great we think we are, people can be replaced. I agree with Mr. Katrubis that the behavior of certain attorneys has been less than, in my opinion, professional. The attorneys, I've reminded them that they are reporting to the entire council. They're not just reporting to the Democrats, the entire council. I will tell you that I'm very close, but I'm not ready tonight to get rid of certain attorneys. But next month, I might be, very much might be. And I would suggest that if there's an alternative, that we bring that person forward instead of just, letting someone go. You have to have a logical progression. And it very well could be that next month, it could be so long, but I think it's fair to give a certain amount of notice. And I also think, and I would remind everyone, yes, there's a past here. There are facts in the past, and you can twist facts to your own satisfaction. It's not good to do that. It's best, in my opinion, to look ahead, forge ahead, look to the future. And we have the opportunity, Democrat and Republican, working together to make this town unbelievable, the example for all other towns in this county and this country. We are a jewel because we're located in a perfect place on top of a cliff. So let's live up to that. Let's all work together. I am tired of the petty, and I will use the word BS, that's going back and forth. Democrat attorneys, Republicans, everybody, does nobody any good. Let's move ahead. Let's do what's right for the entire community, and we're going to all feel good about it, instead of having that narrow pleasure of contempt that we all fall victim to. Let's control that. And it's not, I'm not trying to say any kumbaya stuff. I'm trying to move us ahead. That's all. And I will, if there's another attorney that can do the job better, I certainly will have no problems, but I think we can't be knee-jerk at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DiGregorio. Well said.
Thank you, Mr. DiGregorio.
Well, I'm not sure like who we want to replace him with, but we could get like a law student and basically replace him with a law student for now.
One final thing, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I think that we owe it to the public to let them know exactly how many millions of dollars Mr. Wunsch just walked into and proposed to in damages.
I'll make that motion when the mayor shows me the report from Cat Wilder.
They gave you the report. So
Councilman, are you, that was, whatever was shared in closed sessions, my understanding is confidential. If you break that confidence, you're violating certain legal protections that the town needs at this point. So,
Mr. Mayor, can I please rebuttal that, please? You rebut that, please? Rebut that, please? Mr. Kim has a lot of audacity speaking the way that he does. Yes, sir. We're talking about an individual who defamed me before by saying that I was violent in closed session, okay? And which never happened. Number one, as an attorney, you don't even know what the definition of violence is, okay? So you should be really ashamed of yourself, and I will leave it at that, okay? Thank you very much. You should be very, very careful, Mr. Kim.
Very public figures, so people just say whatever they want about us.
If you would like to talk to me, I would also appreciate.
Considering, sir, you just passed minutes with that closed session, and there is no speak of any sort of violence. You should be ashamed of yourself. You have no idea what you're doing, and you should consider stepping down, really. Have a good.
I'm very anxious to hear what the fire department has to say.
Yeah, so actually there was a motion pending to terminate the services of Mr. Wunsch. There was a second, and we had discussion, Maria. So let's have a roll call. Chief Nikal, I'm glad you're back. We said we'd come back to you, and thank you for going to answer that call. Let us have this quick vote, and then we have the floor.
Member Valari?
I'm sorry. What are we voting on?
This is voting on the termination. I'm sorry, she didn't hear, okay, let me just explain it. But it's the termination of our lunch. Termination of our lunch.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
Member Katrubis?
Yes.
Member Kim?
No.
Council President Luciano?
Absolutely not.
Member Simon?
No.
Member Di Gregorio?
Brooklyn?
Next month,
I looked at my phone,
Next
so here we
month.
go.
not ready to do it just
You
yet.
understand that?
Okay, so I hope everyone understands. I have made my position clear a few moments ago.
So no.
No.
Okay, let's hear from the fire chief and the deputy chief. Do you want to speak also, or?
I'll just be there for moral support.
Okay.
So I have a couple of handouts. I promise it'll go quick.
Thank you. And this is Chief Matthew Nikal. He's a volunteer, okay, which I applaud you and your whole department. You and your whole department for all your hard work. I kind of teed it up for you, Matt. I teed it up in terms of the ladder truck. Do you have an extra one of those? I don't have those. Thank you.
I'll try to keep it brief. Does this work?
On occasion,
Maybe? Okay.
on occasion.
All right, so first off, thank you, Mayor and Council, for the invite, and also thank you for the support to the fire department you've provided over the many years. We're a small department, but we're a proud department. It's a great town, and we love to do it. So before you is a piece of equipment that needs replacing. It's our ladder truck. It's currently the oldest fire department vehicle. It's probably older than many houses in town now, which is a good thing for the borough. But it's 29 years old. And after next year, according to NFPA and ISO classification, it should be deemed out of service. This is a process that we started last year. I felt we made some good progress working with then Borough Administrator Chris Rass and the Mayor and Council at that time. But it does need to be replaced. I can go through the items on it, just maintenance and upkeep of it. We have downgraded how much we use the truck. It should go out a lot more, but we have newer apparatus. But it does put strains on other parts of the department and other apparatus from overuse. So it is necessary that we upgrade this vehicle. Importantly, the price and the time frame with which these vehicles are built and delivered, they are around $2 million. The one vendor that we currently have two pieces of apparatus in our firehouse quoted a delivery time of 38 months.
What vendor is that, sir?
That's Pierce.
Thank you.
On the second page, There are a couple of vendors along with the pricing. The second vendor is Seagrave. Fort Lee purchased 3 engines from them, and they currently have no ETA on when those units will be delivered. And they're also in litigation with a town in New Hampshire because they're trying to get more money out of the borough for delivery of their fire trucks. So there are a few vendors out there. Our preference is to stay with Pierce, but there are some options here. And of course, we'll do our due diligence working through with the specs and the tech on the truck. A couple things about the ladder truck. It would be a like-for-like replacement. So our current Seagrave is an aerial device. It is a tower ladder, which means it has a bucket on it. It also has a pump on it. So it serves both as a engine, which has a pump, water tank hose, and a ladder truck. We generally prefer the tower style with the platform and having a truck with the pump on it, just because it serves multi-purpose. And when a vehicle does go down, when an apparatus does go down, it serves as a tenable backup. And then on the last page, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, is a plan that the then Borough Administrator Chris Rask put together, outlining a couple-year plan. Thank you last year for approving the fire department capital budget. We were able to purchase 2 new SUVs, and we're currently working on a replacement pickup truck. So that will greatly aid in the response of the fire department. The ladder truck was pushed to this year, of course, on last year's plan. So it's nice to, say, oh, in the future. But the reason being was because EC2 was purchased about 20 years ago and the bond was up. So I would ask to, take a look at the finances and say if that money that was paying down that bond could be transferred to pay for the ladder truck. Of course, it would be a little bit more, but I think it's certainly a viable option, and I would ask the mayor and council to consider it. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yes.
First of all, I agree with the mayor. Thank you for all your hard work and the whole department. I'm very happy that you have received the new trucks. I know that speaking with the CFO was a little unusual. That usually should come out of capital, so it hastened that. And the fact that you're going to be getting a pickup truck also is kind of a nice thing. In addition to that, I also believe that you're going to have your parking lot paved. That's what I've heard, and that you will be getting cobblestone curving for your parking lot. So that's all very nice and cool and very supportive. Again, I appreciate what you do, but I did hear something that was a little disconcerting to me, quite frankly. The ambulance corps is going to need a place to have their ambulance and to where the 2 people in the ambulance. It's the same thing. They're doing the same thing you are. And I heard, and I hope it's not true, that it was refused by the fire department. And if that's the case, personally, I have a little bit of an issue with that, because they're here just like you are to save lives. And you've got a nice facility that I think is absolutely perfect and it's centrally located. So I would hope that what I heard is not factual, and maybe you can speak to it.
Yeah, so ambulance services managed by Inglewood Hospital, paid EMTs and paramedics for ALS and BLS. When they first came into town, they were housed at the firehouse. That was several years ago. When the then ambulance corps, now recreation center, got refurbished, they had bays available. They could keep the rigs in the bay instead of out, outside. And in the summer, it's fine, but in the winter, they left the trucks running, so that it was more conducive to keeping, the rigs inside. I have not heard anything from them about utilizing the fire department. I have not said no or had any discussion with anybody on the Englewood Hospital ambulance using the fire department. So we can follow up on it. I would be happy to discuss it, figure out a viable solution. Every auto accident, the fatal on 9W, we work side by side with them. So we have to work in parallel.
So you are open to accepting that?
I would need to understand what I'm accepting. If they're asking to move a piece of equipment out of our engine bay for them to house their paid service in our engine room, maybe we need to figure that out. But if they need to park it in the lot,
Dave, are you asking because?
I don't have the detail on it.
Are you asking because the affordable housing project was going to take away the? Okay, so just going back in time, when it became clear that the response time by the hospital ambulance was getting delayed because everybody was getting rerouted off of 95 up Palisades Ave, we got together to try to figure out a place to put them. And I think the fire department was contemplated, but for some reason, I think they were the ones that rejected the fire department because I think you have activities there that they weren't allowed to be near. And I'll leave it at that. And so we were fortunate enough, as David mentioned, to have the community center refurbished and their ways there, and appreciate them, and we always thank them when we see them. So we have to try to figure out a solution. What's the timing on that, David? Do you know?
No, we don't know, Mr. Mayor, but we're talking about 4 to 5 months, maybe 6.
From now?
That we have time to come up with something. I think there are some other.
There are some options that we're exploring that we won't have to impose on the fire department.
Like DPW
I
or?
wouldn't look at it as an imposition.
What are you exploring?
Well, if it takes away from their ability to do what they need to and we find an alternative solution, I think that would be.
What are the solutions that you're thinking of?
Well, the borough administrator was looking into something.
Well, can somebody please share with the mayor what you're thinking about? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Just tell me what you're thinking about.
I don't like to share information if I don't have facts. If the fact that, you.
But she knows, but I don't know. So that's the fact there is
that. Only that I am trying to explore other options. We did not have, a lot of this is, I should say, gossip that's going around.
So what are the
Yes,
options?
we haven't had a conversation about it. So it's like we have not had a conversation.
Okay, so you haven't had a conversation with him and may or may not work out. What other options are there?
Looking for other locations that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at other locations. As soon as I have something to report, I will report it to the entire.
So do you have any in mind?
Some others.
Okay, which
I
others?
just have to make the phone calls. I don't, as I said,
Like,
I'm not.
are they public, are they part of the borough property?
No, they're not.
Because they're also moving up here in 910, 920.
That's exactly right.
No, they're moving at 910, I'm sorry, Englewood Hospital is moving at 910, 920.
Yes.
So do they have a bay there?
I don't know. I haven't looked at their plans, so I don't know, but that is one of the possibilities.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, I'm not here for the ladder truck.
Our borough administrators working on this, but I think it would be nice to have some kind of positive affirmation that the fire department would welcome them to come there and to spend some time.
He doesn't know where he's welcoming.
Look, this is the first I've heard of it. I'd be happy to have a conversation with anybody to discuss options. It depends on what they need and what we can provide. So.
And we'll have this discussion. We'll get to it.
We should revisit next month, but I just wanted to, I thought it was only fair to bring that up and hear something that sort of kind of ran against what I thought.
Yeah.
And
like I said, we've worked with them side by side on every accident on 9W and the PIP, and we need that relationship and have it strong with them.
If you can extend it and make it even closer, that'd be.
Chief, do you want to speak to the other equipment also that you need?
So we are also in the process of exchanging and replacing Scott air packs. We will have, I want to say 15 bottles at $1,000 a piece that expired this year, plus some air packs replaced, needing replacement, as well as some minor communication equipment. We are looking at some firefighter grants. And the borough administrator has a grant writer that we're going to pursue to try and aid in some of that. There's a likelihood that, you know, those things will be approved because it's firefighter safety.
Also, we did talk about the fact that there might be some money left in the American Rescue, which is where some of the money that the fire department did use. And if there is a small amount of money, we might be able to use $10,000-$15,000 for the Scots. So I know we didn't.
The American Rescue Plan money was entirely used in the last year's budget.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's how they were able to allocate a lot of capital projects for both fire department, police, and DPW.
Okay, so all of it was used. We didn't get to that. Okay.
Did you want to add anything else?
No, just appreciate the mayor and council's support and looking forward to working on the new truck with you.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
Thank you for you and all you've met with, and men and women, I don't want to.
Yes,
Look
no.
at the personnel that they do.
Have a-
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to accept payment of vouchers, resolution 23-178 in the amount of $806,876.20.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask our CFO, if we have certification of funds for these, for our payments of vouchers, please.
Once you approve the emergency temporary appropriations, we'll be good for through the end of September.
So then maybe we should do that before we do the payment of claims, because at this point in time, so if we go with the mayor's logic.
Well, even if you approve the bills this summer, I will not release the check if that resolution doesn't.
I'm just following the agenda, okay, so it's pretty simple. All right, so look, if we could approve the payment subject to authorizing the temporary appropriation, then it's all fine. Mr. Luciano, you're so smart.
I'm just following your rules.
Okay, all right, could I have a motion, please?
Member Valari,
Have a vote rather.
Member Valari,
Please, let her know.
Member Valari,
Skipper.
Member Katrubis,
Abstain.
Member Kim,
Yes.
Council President Luciano,
Abstain.
She's there.
I'm sorry. If you could ask me again,
So this is to approve $806,876.20 of vouchers.
We don't have money to pay the bills.
I'm going to abstain.
Council President Luciano,
I abstain because we don't have the money to pay the bills at this present time.
It's subject to having the,
I abstain because we don't have the money to pay the
Member
bills. at this
Member
present time.
Simon,
Yes.
Member Di Gregorio.
Yes.
okay. Pass. Okay, next up is the consent agenda. Let's do this all together. 23-179, authorized signatures for payment of expenditures. Whose signature, who are the signatories that you're adding? Okay. Who else is on there?
I'm losing my voice.
Yeah,
Ready.
the three of us? Okay, all
Yeah.
right. All right, that's a mistake, but 23-180, appointment of utilities clerk for NHC. 23-181, approved tax appeal 300 Sylvan. 23-182, approved tax appeal Luke Oil North America LLC. 23-183, fire department mutual aid. 23-184, emergency temporary appropriation for 2023. 23-185, authorization for estimated tax bills. Is there any issue with any of these that somebody wants pulled out?
Yes, I have an issue.
Which one?
One, I don't think this time, let's see, which one was it? 180.
Okay,
I'd like to vote no on that.
so somebody make a motion to approve everything except 180. We'll vote on that separately. So 179 through 185, except 180 is out. Motion?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, are you looking for a motion just to pull out 180 and then vote the rest on a consent? Because I think a few of them need to be pulled out.
What else did you want pulled out?
I think that we need to have, I think that we should pull out the ones with the tax appeals.
Okay, why don't we do this? So let's just vote on each one separately. 23-179, authorized signatories for payment of borough expenditures. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, is there a second?
Member Valari? Member Petrubis?
Abstain.
Member Kim?
Yes.
Aye.
Member Simon?
Yes.
Member Gregorio?
Yes.
Okay, 23-180 passes, thank you. 23-180, appointment of utilities clerk, Fran Marinuzzi. Motion.
Motion except 180.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
No, wait, discussion, right? First.
We had discussion on this.
No, but I just want to make sure. 'cause-
How much can you talk about the same thing over and
I want to
over?
make sure, like, you know, that it's a clear indication. Councilman Di Gregorio is pulling this out. So I want to understand this. Councilman Di Gregorio not support paying someone for the work that they've been doing. That's all, not additional work. Are you saying that?
That's
you have
not,
an empl-
that's not what this says. But you have to be accurate with your
Make
words.
sure that that Councilman Di Gregorio is not in favor of paying someone the amount of money that was suggested by your borough administrator and both borough administrators, Chris Rapp and JB, okay, that suggested this and made the recommendation based on their salary analysis. I just want to make sure that the fellow's clear and we're clear that you're not for paying someone for the work that they're doing. That's all. And I think you should explain that to the public.
Unless the employee is right. So.
No, it's not, we're not talking about, once again, you
All
want to.
right, so Dave's got a good point. Can we just have a vote?
That's what's on the floor.
Roll call.
Public knows, that's really.
Roll call.
Member Valari? Member Valari?
She's muted.
I'm so sorry. No. Did you hear me? Hello? Hello?
I can hear you, Maria. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know if they can hear me, though. I can't hear anything from them right now.
Very odd. It seems like it seems like the entire council, everyone is muted at this. I think something
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, something must have happened.
I can hear you both.
Yeah.
No, there you
They-
are, Mary.
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
I think
Hello?
that everyone was globally muted when something was changed, trying to unmute you, Maria.
Oh,
Let's
I got
give
it.
the borough clerk a chance to correct.
Okay. Okay. Nope.
Um,
Hello?
Yeah, it seems like you and I are the only ones not muted here, Maria. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't even know if they're aware.
I don't know. I'm gonna try to.
Mute yourself and try calling either the mayor or, I don't know. I just tried texting David and he didn't respond, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Tim, can you hear me now?
We're good. I can hear you. Yes, David.
Okay. All right, so we'll do it that way. Let me just turn the volume down.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now it looks like Mario dropped off. The mayor dropped off the phone.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Where are we in this process? Because you were all muted. So Maria, we heard nothing. So you have to.
180, Tim.
So you're waiting for the vote on 180?
Correct.
We're waiting for
Your vote.
No.
That one fails. 23-181, approved tax appeal, 300 Sylvan Avenue. Who are the,
To make a motion to table this, for further discussion, please.
okay, the second for the tabling? Is there a second to table 181?
They've got me muted. Hello, can you hear me?
Hear you. We can hear
Oh,
you.
finally. Yeah, okay, what are we doing? Because I've been muted for the longest time and wasn't able to get through.
Okay.
Okay, what are we voting on right now, Mr. Mayor?
There's a motion to table 181.
Do we want to table it?
No, he needs a second. It's a tax settlement? Councilman Katrubis, at the table. Can you stop speaking? Because
I
we
can
have-
only hear one person at a time, please.
So there's a motion to table 181. We need a second to table, or we have a, or we just do a vote?
And who wants to table it?
Mr.
I made the motion to table it because I've heard, I haven't heard anything about the settlement. I'm voting completely in the blind, so.
I agree with you. I'm going to vote to table it.
Okay.
You worked it.
He made the motion, she seconded.
She said she's voting for it.
Are you seconding his motion to
I
table?
second.
Okay, so let's have a vote on tabling 181.
Wait, no,
Before you do that,
this is a legal settlement. And that they're let me ask, all the people that want to table it, have you read the information from the attorney on what's being settled and what they agreed to waive for the past 4 or 5 years? So you want to say, no, we don't want them to settle it, and we want to pay them
I didn't say no.
tax refunds for the 5 years that they're waiving and only holding us for 1 year. You guys.
I'm not saying no.
Presented to you and think before you start doing things.
I'm not saying no, so maybe you should think, Glenn, but let's move forward, please.
Well, okay, what's.
All right, fine. You know what? I'll remove the table. I'll remove the table if that's okay. Let's see where you're gonna go with this, Glenn.
Who are the individual owners of the?
Well, did you read the information?
No, we're on 181, 300 Sylvan. Who are the owners? That needs to be discussed.
Maserati.
Whatever.
Okay, but if it's an individual, we need to know who they are. That's how we do these tax appeals, so everybody knows who's behind the property. And it protects you better, because then you know if there's I'm sorry, it protects you better than you'll know if there's a conflict, you need to have.
No, it's not Maserati. It's right across from the bank.
We don't even know who it is.
Right, sorry.
Okay, let's just make up stuff and pretend we're all stupid. I want to know who the individuals are behind the LLCs. That has been my rule since day one as a mayor, because too many times people were voting on things not knowing if they had a conflict or not. So what's changed now? What's changed?
Just vote on it and we'll deal with it whatever way the vote comes out.
Why can't you just actually do what you're supposed to do?
Vote no on
This
it.
is why it should be
You don't
tabled.
know what we're voting on, don't you understand? You're the attorney. You need to be fully disclosing these facts to us.
I provided these resolutions. They were sent around. Nobody asked me a single question about.
We always have the ultimate beneficial owners disclosed.
I don't think you do.
We
Because I
do.
looked at your last resolutions and they were not in them.
So let's go back to tabling this.
Well,
he removed this motion.
Well, you guys don't know what you're voting on.
I'll make the motion to table again because it seems to me there's a lot of disarray here and I'm not comfortable with it.
That's good. Okay.
Is there a-
And I'm gonna second that.
All right, let's have a roll call.
Member Valari,
Table it, yes.
member Katrubis,
Table it.
member Kim,
No.
Council President Luciano, member Simon,
No,
member Di Gregorio.
No.
I make a motion to accept 181. Second.
Member Valari,
Are we still on 181?
we're on
181, yes, Maria.
Okay, no.
member Katrubis, member Katrubis,
No to it. I had too many questions. Glenn mentioned something before about reading whatever the attorney sent us. Send it again. I have zero idea what you're talking about. I'm completely in the blind on this. I'm sorry.
member Kim,
Yes.
Council President Luciano, member Simon,
yes,
member Di Gregorio.
Yes.
Here, I make a motion to accept 182, tax appeal, Lock Oil, North America, LLC.
Okay, number 183, 182 is approved.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, can I just interrupt that for 1 second? What happened to 180?
it went down.
Failed.
Okay.
Okay.
182,
Who are the principals, who are the ultimate beneficial owners?
Lock Oil.
Yeah, but who's the owner of that property? Is it Vladimir Putin or is it somebody else? I mean, like,
Nation of Russia.
well, it's Lukoil, right?
So it's Russian, so I don't think there should be a problem with.
No, it's not enough.
They always have the motion, second on the floor, I call the question.
Call the,
Please call the roll call, clerk, please. Madam
Mem-
Clerk.
member Valari,
No,
member Katrubis,
No.
member Kim,
Yes.
Council President Luciano, member Simon,
yes,
member Di Gregorio,
Yes.
Between 183, fire department mutual aid.
Motion to accept it.
second,
member Valari,
which one are we on right now?
The next
183.
one in line.
183, okay, thank you. 183, I'm going to abstain on that.
member Katrubis,
Abstain.
member Kim,
Yes.
Your support, sister.
Council President Luciano,
Aye.
member Simon,
yes,
member Di Gregorio.
Yes.
23, 184, emergency temporary appropriation for 2023.
wow. So moved.
Member Valari,
Can I just ask one question?
On 184,
Need four votes, right?
abstain.
The resolution.
No,
I need a.
I'm sorry, member Valari,
There's too much talking going on in the background. We're voting on 184.
correct.
Yeah, I abstain on that.
Member Katrubis,
Abstain.
member Kim,
Yes.
Council President Luciano,
Come back to me, please.
member Simon,
yes,
member Di Gregorio.
Yes.
Aye.
May pass.
23, 185, authorization for estimated tax bill.
So moved.
If you're like me, you try to actually pay a bill after.
Got a motion on the second, Mr. Mayor. We call roll.
Member Valari,
Abstain.
member Katrubis,
Abstain.
member Kim,
Yes.
Council President Luciano,
Aye.
member Simon,
Yes,
member Di Gregorio.
Yes.
Okay, next up, introduction of ordinance, public hearing on September 13th, 2023.
Motion to
Is it or- Sorry, stop, the speaking, okay, you just stop. All right, you add hours to our meetings. He basically colored in all his like O's and zeros and his paper, but they just keep them separate. All right. I'm gonna start with introduction of ordinance, public hearing, September 13th, 2023. Ordinance 2305, an ordinance replacing ordinance 2023-02, fixing the range of salaries and compensation for all salary appointed and elected officials. You're changing the council salary? Don't pay her. We didn't get this nonsense up here. We'll find somewhere else.
My bills, I'm sorry.
I don't have a motion, I don't have a second, so motion. No. Thank you. A second, please.
Second.
Okay. Is there a discussion?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear.
Yeah, I'm
anything
having,
you're saying.
agreed.
I'm sorry, I can't participate in this if I can't hear what everybody is saying. I apologize for that.
This is the salary ordinance that was discussed earlier. Can you hear me, both of you?
Yes, I could hear you, yes.
Yep, I can hear you.
Member Valari,
This is on the introduction of the ordinance.
Salary ordinance.
Replacing, fixing the range of salaries. You know what? I'm just going to abstain on that.
member Katrubis,
No.
member Kim,
Yes.
Council President
Aye.
Luciano, member Simon,
yes.
member Di Gregorio.
No.
So what was it? It was 3 yeses, 1 abstention.
And
2
2 no.
no. So it's the introduction. Could I have a motion to go into closed session? please? Look, I don't want to keep the public here later than we have to, but, I don't know if we're gonna take action after this, so you want to say, if we are, we're gonna open to the public. Is that right?
Yeah. Stop the recording. Okay, very good. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, they can't be there.
You've already.
Would you like, I'll share. You want another one?
I'll wait.
Whoa, what happened? Oh, all right.
I know, what am I gonna do? You're not gonna help. My alarm system isn't recording to get it.
Why am I on? I don't want to be on.
It's not going. Yeah.
Who's speaking?
Still in the same day.
Everything was on.
I have a motion to come out of closed session.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're in a closed session, something I mentioned earlier with the resolution to protect the cliffs, I'm gonna read this and then you guys can decide if you wanna make a motion or not. In light of the failure of the New Jersey Assembly, New Jersey Senate, New Jersey Governor, Senator Gordon and the Assembly Women Theater, they asked council for a motion for the council and mayor to take all necessary and appropriate action to upgrade the cliffs. And use that, they will this motion being further and supplemented and approved. I think that somebody wants to move.
I'll make a motion to hire a special investigator to determine what happened with.
No, hold on, we're doing.
We could do that after.
I just read something, and I'm asking, this is important, if the council wants to do this, then just do this, and then we'll get to you.
I would be in favor, but I would suggest respectfully to try to, let's put a little more of a positive spin on it. And maybe even delay it and get the 3 people in here first and meet with them face to face. And then and alert them that we're doing the motion and get them.
Well, I can get rid of that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, because I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't hear anything. It's as if you're muted.
Okay, so I'm asking for a motion.
Hold on, let's see. Which computer? That's on, this one is unmuted, so should hear. Okay. This computer is closer and then we'll.
So I'm asking for a motion from council, for the council and mayor to take all necessary and appropriate action to protect the Palisades Cliffs and View Shed and Englewood Cliffs from development. With this motion being further enhanced, supplemented, and improved from time to time.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I'll make the motion.
All right, so we have a motion, Melanie, second. Tim,
I'll second it.
okay. So roll call.
Member, Member Valeri's gone. Member Katrubis,
Yes.
Member Kim? Council President Luciano? Member Simon?
Yes.
Member Di Gregorio?
To determine what happened with our overs that are now costing us $2,000 a day. I'd ask Mr. Marinello if he had anything else to add. Please feel free to, I think everyone knows the gist of what we're trying to do.
We'll take a picture.
I'd direct Mr. Marinello to write a resolution to institute that request. That's fine.
Second,
Can you just repeat the motion?
To hire a special investigator to determine what happened
with the real law,
with the legal law group, why we're paying $2,000 a day, because there's some issues with information not being passed on, allegedly not being passed on to our new.
Okay, so the investigation later.
Member Katrubis?
Yes.
Member Kim is absent. Council President Luciano? Member Simon? Member Di Gregorio?
Second.
is that a motion?
Yeah.
That's the motion. To go.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Good night, everyone.
So don't forget,
Good night.
we're gonna have a land levy ceremony. We have to figure out a date on that.
Congratulations, by the way, Mr. Mayor, for your daughter's wedding.
Thank you very much. Thank you, appreciate that.